Not yet?
Is it toxic to smell your own farts?
That is the first time I've ever heard that question.
What was the question?
The question is it toxic to smell your own farts? Any gas that's produced from toxicity will be toxic, even if it's your own. Well, the high meats may cause a breakdown of toxic substances in your body that creates a toxic gas.
It doesn't go down.
So it still can be toxic if you can get to a window or be around the window, or don't eat cooked foods, and then you have to worry about it as much.
So raw farts are okay?
Yeah, you can detoxing old stuff, but usually, if you're eating enough fat, it usually doesn't happen. Unless you're eating too much cream and too many berries, then it can cause still too many farts. But then it's usually a metallic fart. When you get into the fart subject, this is a good time.
Does somebody here have scotch tape for my tape?
Is there any scotch tape, Robert? Do you have any scotch tape? Okay, next question. Glycation in product? No, it was actually Columbia University in New York City. Yeah, Columbia University in New York City. That's it? Okay. What's the subject matter that is Well, she just wanted to know the university did research on that. Okay. And the University of Columbia University did the research on advanced glycation in products. No, yes, it's good. They're utilized sugars. When you use a carbohydrate and it's turned into glycogen, 70 to 90% of that byproduct, advanced glycation end product, is stored in the body. If you use fruit, there's still a high ratio. Even though it's raw, it's still a high ratio. If your body makes the glycogen from pyruvate, which is protein, the advanced glycation end product is only about 7 to 8%. And your body can handle that easily. See, very little byproduct residue of using protein sugar. The carbohydrate sugar in the human body is very toxic, even if it's raw. That's why you don't eat many grains, you don't eat many nuts, you don't eat too much fruit. Now, there are a few people out there who do very well with high fruit diets, raw diets. Not many of them who can maintain without being, they can't hold focus very easily. They have ADD, ADHD, anger, anxiety. So if you have any of those reactions to a lot of high food, you don't want to eat a lot of high food. Well, as far as biochemically, the body only needs 5%. If you want to have more detoxification, you can mix some food with more fats and you'll force more detoxification. Oh, it's pretty high. It's still about probably 60-70%. 5% alcohol or vitamin C, which you get from food. So the body only needs about 5% of the diet needs to be food for most people. No, the honey, once the honey is, as long as it's unheated above 93 degrees, the insulin-like substance which the bees produce when they swallow the nectar converts 90% of the carbohydrate into enzymes for digesting, utilizing, and assimilating protein. So that only leaves 10% of the honey to utilize for sugar. And that's where I get most of my sugar because I don't eat much fruit. So I eat a lot of honey. I do better with the honey than I do with fruit. For some reason, high food in my diet causes my adrenaline to rush, and it causes me to get hyperactive, too excited, too sexual, and it causes me to lose train of thought pretty easily. Not that I can't pick it up, but I can just see myself pushing too often. That is a problem too. It's just like carrot juice, it's too high in carbs. But the yellow squashes like crookneck and sunburst are not high in sugar, like the acorn, the winter squashes are all high in sugar. Acorn and butternut squashes and pumpkin, all very high in sugar. You could have them once in a while. I would drink a whole cup of carrot juice with cream in it once a month, once every 2 months. To get the extra vitamin A from it. Okay. Ebony, do you have an answer?
When I first started a diet, I had like a very happy feeling that after the animal, I would feel a little different way. I totally went away. I don't know if I got used to the practice or not.
What he asked is when he first went on the diet, he felt kind of euphoric, very excited and very happy all the time, and now it seems to have worn off. And if you ate a lot more food, you could probably get that back. That's not necessarily the natural state of any ape on the planet. Apes are pretty lazy. They hang around, they pick bugs and eat them off of each other, and they do and eat. Of course, they mainly eat mostly fruit. But when they get sleepy, after eating all that food, they sleep for a while, but they don't move. It depends on what you want in life. So if you want more high energy, then you eat more food. If it causes you to get anxiety stricken, then it's not a good idea. Just learn to live with your lower excitement level. Is that it?
Yes. My question is about my son.
And I'm going to be visiting in a few weeks, and he has been taking pain medication, and now he's got depression. He's got a numbers, and he can't get around the way he wants to. Well, he has a fracture in his vertebrae, I guess.
Is it fused?
Pardon me?
Did they fuse it?
Well, they gave him an operation, and he's worse after the operation. I don't know what they did. But he's now having panic attacks and real serious depression. I guess he's just realizing that he's just going to have to live with his pain. So
not necessarily. Usually that kind of pain what usually happens when they perform a surgery on someone who has a spine injury. And any kind of surgery, they'll use methylate, mercurochrome, or iodine as an antiseptic. Mercurochrome and methylate are all liquid mercury, very poisonous. So they coat that area, causes severe toxicity in that area, causes pain, causes swelling. Doctors who use that are very ignorant. They just don't observe what's happening over the long run. Iodine does the same thing. Iodine's a little bit more accurate in that it'll melt surrounding tissue and cause more adhesions by acidity, whereas the mercury will just poison cells and cause toxicity that way. Either way, they're both harmful. And that's usually the problem in that situation. Eating berries with cream and butter, coconut cream is the best. Blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, boysenberries, anything, strawberries, not so much, will help remove the metal poisonings like the mercury and the iodine. And then the fats will help dissolve it also and bind with it. Coconut cream is the best. You take coconut cream after juicing it, and you put it on metal, you'll see within 24 hours, 48 hours, it eats metal away and turns black. So coconut cream is a lot better to remove metals. Usually what that creates is same reactions he's having already, which are panic attacks, severe depression, suicidal tendencies, even homicidal tendencies at times.
So is there anything that can help him decrease the pain too?
Well, if the pain is caused from the swelling locally, no. What he has to do is just apply a hot water bottle locally in the area so that everything will expand. When you have those poisons in there, it causes a burning of the surrounding tissue, so there's always tension. It's like I stick a pin in you. You know, you tense. But when that poison's irritating the nerve tissue, it will constantly cause a contraction in that area. That minimizes the blood to the area, but yet the blood is trying to pump in there, and then what happens is the nerves get swollen in a tight area. It's just like the brain. If you get a headache, that's from swelling in the brain, and your skull's not expanding along with it. So if you apply a hot water bottle on 3 sides while you're lying on your back, that will allow the connective tissue to the fissures to expand so the whole brain can expand, so that the swelling in the brain doesn't cause the pressure on the nerves and cause the headaches. Usually hot water bottles on 3 sides will reduce the headaches by about 80%. Then if you take the pain formula, it usually gets rid of it until you start moving again. But as long as you're sedentary and still, it's good. You can't give me too many parts to a question. If you give me too many parts to a question, I can't answer
Well,
them.
just once a week on pain formula?
Oh, no, every day he's
Okay.
having pain.
Okay.
Definitely. Okay, you have a question? Yes.
Okay. On the wall down the liver, how can you tell if you're not metabolizing the wrong thing? Like if you symptoms. One time we made a comment to me that if you do gallbladder flush, yeah, you so whether it be
Well, I've seen people with large adhesions. Adhesions are scar tissue, which are dead cells that do not function. They're just like bricks holding you together. Or if you can't dissolve them, it's compound adhesions because your body can't dissolve the dead cells. I've seen people with huge adhesions still function with their bladders. I would say if you're having diarrhea about every time you eat, you're fat, or very, very loose stools, you're not digesting it so well. Right. Now I can tell how much, cream I can eat. When I first started on eating raw meat, I started drinking a quart of raw cream a day with a quart of carrot juice. It made me feel wonderful, and I loved it. I blew up, and got like Arnold Schwarzenegger and a little puffier in the face than he did because I didn't work out, he did. And it felt really good, but I always had loose stools from it. If I have, let's say, 8 ounces of cream at a time with berries, I will get very loose stools, and I'll be able to judge from that how much I'm digesting and not digesting. And I probably digest very well only 6 ounces at a time, cream at a time. So you have to eat a tremendous amount of fat to not digest it properly. Usually, I've had the vagotomy, so my digestion is compromised. So if I can have 6 ounces, most people can do a lot better than that. Cream is the hardest fat to digest of the raw fats. As far as it causes swelling, puffiness, as far as actual digestion, for breaking it down and assimilating, avocado is the hardest to digest. So if you have difficulty with avocado, then you might want to reduce your consumption of avocado. If you have massive swelling, water retention, it may be from too much cream, and then you may have more butter. Okay, do you have a question?
Oh, yeah, I was at the market the other day at Erewhon. The produce man said that Jimenjo, or it's called Daimo, it's grown in Japan, it's a root. It's grown in mulch like compost, and it's soft and sandy, but it's not organic. Because in Japan, they have a mulch compost, soft and sandy soil inside. What do you think of it? Is it of it?
That particular herb?
Root.
The root herb.
Yeah.
I have. It's supposed to, to juice it? It's high in carbs. The problem with those juices, if you don't get them raw, any herb that you get, any root that you get that's dried,
It's not dry, this is fresh.
fresh, then it would probably be okay in very small amounts medicinal.
What does that do to you?
Well, they say that it increases brain activity and balance the nervous system. Yeah. Well, you don't want much. Any root is very, very concentrated, like ginseng. Maybe about 10 drops.
So just that
There are 30
much.
drops to a teaspoon, so you're looking at a third of a teaspoon if you're going to have something like that.
So you take off that much from the roots, cut out.
Well, I find that it's easier to grate a root, like ginger. If you just want ginger, and you want, let's say, a teaspoon, because it's very concentrated. Ginger can burn you. So let's say I'm making a throat lozenge. I'll take raw butter and honey, about 2/3 butter, 1/3 honey, and then I like ginger in it if I have a sore throat. I'll take the ginger and grate it and squeeze it in my finger and get the drops out, or take it between two pieces of marble or glass and press it, either way. You get more out of it, of course, you're going to press it between glass and marble than you will if you squeeze it with your fingers.
Oh, it's grated first.
Yeah, grate it. And then you don't have to pull your juicer out just to juice a little bit.
So you take that the same way with that one you do.
Yes.
Grate it and
Squeeze it, yeah. Get some juice out of it and put it with another juice.
Put it in your green juice.
Yeah, you put it in green juice. Just one before you're ready to drink it. One serving, one 10-drop potion of it.
That's it for the day.
Yes. I found that if you're playing with very potent herbs, that people who overdo it can really have some side effects. And it usually creeps up and hits them all at one time. And it's quite a chore to bring them out of it, because it's more psychological than it affects the nervous system, causes people to get very anxiety-stricken or panic. Probably part of that is that all herbs, roots, bark, all of that contains high levels of heavy metals. It's a natural part of the earth. Water comes down, dissolves rock. Other creatures eat it. The solution, worms. The plants eat that, the bacteria and the dissolved rock, and absorb it into its tissue. And then if we take it and juice it, we get those heavy metals too. Now, as long as they're fresh and organic and not dried or heated in any way or steeped or even sun steeped, we won't have an ill reaction from those heavy metals. They will not become free radicals in the body. Once you dehydrate that substance and you try to reconstitute it, the enzymatic, ionic, electrolyte action coupled with those metals are gone. They are not connected anymore. It's like taking our sun and getting rid of the planets. There's nothing to hold it in place. It will just shoot around like a proton. Our planets hold the sun in place. That's the proton. The Earth, the planets are the neurons. You eliminate those, and that proton goes shooting around, and just like an atomic bomb, it will split other solar systems, just like it will do cells in the body. So free radicals are not a good thing. There's mercury, there's strychnine, there's all kinds of trace toxic metals if they're not ionic and electrolyte bound, enzymatically utilized in food. Anybody who takes a mineral supplement, you're poisoning your body. A lot of people feel good from it and from herbs, because what it does is, just like they used to use formaldehyde and strychnine in the past as remedies. You went to a doctor and they poisoned you purposely, just like they do with cancer nowadays. What that does is it poisons the blood. The body has to deal with just taking care of those blood poisons, and all detoxification stops. That means if you had swelling somewhere that was causing pain, that swelling would reduce and stop, and that pain would usually go away because the body cannot tend to that damaged area anymore. So you have caused yourself more toxicity that will usually end up in that area while it shuts down the cleansing process, plus your whole body is a little bit more sicker. So you're not improving your health, you're just stopping the symptoms. I would say a less harmful way of stopping symptoms, the toxicity, slowing it down, is eating 2 to 3 ounces of cooked chicken a week. That would be a favorable way because there's less toxicity that way than steeping and boiling herbs.
But the people that you're talking about, you have non-diets that are just a doctor.
Yeah, but also there's a lot of people that believe in herbs still, even their own raw diet. A lot of people still take herbs and take vitamin supplements, which are all very toxic.
But I don't see how the cooked chicken becomes.
Well, it causes a toxicity in the blood, just like any kind of toxicity does, so the body stops the detox, the general intense detox that's going on. No, I'm not saying. I'm saying if you can't handle a detox, if it's gone on too long and you're about to kill your girlfriend or your boyfriend or something like that, or you're going to kill yourself, then do something about it. Do something differently. I first suggest that you eat the nut formula with some meat, and if that doesn't work, then kill somebody first and then eat some cooked chicken, and that'll help relieve it.
I've been told by
This isn't a question related to that? Okay, then wait till I get to it.
Oh,
I'm going around the room.
I didn't know that. I thought
Okay. When a question is about the subject, about what we're talking, then other questions can be asked. Out of turn. Roger.
Are herbs such as garlic and turmeric bad for you because they're powdered?
Yes. Again, any toxic material in it will be poisonous to the system.
so if the person wanted to take the turmeric, how should they take it?
Fresh. Do you have a question? Do you have a question? Yes.
No, I don't.
No question. Okay.
Actually, yes. I was wondering your thoughts on flower essences, like the box remedies.
I think that they're horrible.
What is that?
They have to be distilled. Even the Young's oils are distilled. Talking about flower essences and oils, herb oils, flower oils. They have to distill it. Young distills his oils at 261 degrees, 261 degrees. Yet he says in his book, the earth does it between 57 and 67 degrees. And how he comes up with 261 degrees, just because it's 100 degrees less than anybody else does it, how that makes it good, I don't know. Anytime you heat an oil that much and you subject it to a cell, it will dissolve the cellular lining after it dissolves the fat on the cell. So if you put a lot of oil on, you are rupturing every cell. And eventually, if it keeps going deeper and you continue to use it, what happens is you retard your ability to produce healthy cells, skin cells. So then you kind of start looking like the people who have facial burns, that have acid burns to get rid of lines and wrinkles. The skin isn't very alive, and it's very scarred, and there's poor circulation into it. That's why.
Oils you put directly on the skin?
Yes.
I'm talking about the flower essences, that you take drops
Or that's even worse, because then you're doing it internally. I mean, it may not affect the the intestinal walls as well, because if somebody has a good coating of mucus like they're supposed to, hopefully the mucus will bind with most of it, and then chelate it, and then you'll discharge it, out the fecal mat. But when you're putting it on skin, you don't have that mucus coating. But if you do absorb some of that, let's say your mucus lining isn't good, and you absorb that, it will damage your liver, it will damage your spleen, it will damage wherever that fat goes. It's a highly distilled fat.
How does it work into the problem that you're
It's poisoning you again. Just remember, it's all a method of poisoning one thing. It's poisoning it's poisoning you systemically, so that your body will stop a localized detoxification or a central detoxification.
Talking about the remedies, I think they just soak flowers in water and then they strain it. I think
They don't distill
they
it.
do.
Yeah,
Alcohol?
yeah. They also use another substance. I forgot what it's called. Sometimes they use bromine, something like that, to help extract it. So it's solvent extracted.
Hexane.
Pardon?
Hexane, probably.
Yep.
Hexane?
Hexane. It's a chemical. So anytime you have that in your system, what it does is it fractures that fat substance, and then it's just becomes a solvent in your body, and not a disciplined solvent, not a solvent that can be harnessed properly because your body didn't manufacture it. You've made it that way. It's like drinking soap. Good question.
I was wondering about cravings within the realm of the Rocky diet. Before, I had cravings before I started this diet. I don't have any cravings anymore for food, but now within the Rocky diet, I get specific cravings for things. Is there a point in this diet where you can trust your body signals?
That's probably the best question, most difficult question to answer, because there are so many sides to it. Not everybody can keep vigil on themselves. Let me give you an example. Recently, I met someone who was my client for many years, and she has gone off and she eats mainly fruit. She eats lettuce and other vegetables with her meat. She is way too thin. She gets very cold at 70 degrees. Can't sleep if it gets below 70 degrees. She gets very ill, goes through flu symptoms or severe cold symptoms if she stays like that for a couple of days in a row. I mean, if it gets down to 65, she ends up with a flu. If she stays cold, her body stays cold for probably more than about 12 to 14 hours. She drinks way too much water. She's hyperactive. She cannot sit and read more than a few pages at a time. At my seminar, she could not sit more than 20 minutes. She was the only one. She was in and out of the room, up and down. Now, she feels great. She loves that. She loves feeling that high energy. She's got a lot of tension in her system. She has a very affected laugh. And everybody who meets her sees that, because that much sugar is constantly driving adrenaline and is making her very tense all the time. But she likes that hyperactive because she was dying of cancer many years ago, so she had no energy, and she was on a vegetarian diet and suffered so many years from being a vegetarian with low energy. So like me, when I went on to a fruitarian diet, I loved that high. It was great, but it wasn't good for reading, it wasn't good for relationships. She gets very over-emotional, she gets hysterical, but she thinks that's normal and that's healthy. I would love to be a fruitarian and do well as a fruitarian, because I love the taste of fruit, lots of sweets, but I won't do it. So if you can, I know some people who can.
If you're doing it somewhat correctly, it's like with me, I have this thing with tomatoes, for weeks. I eat enough of them. And it's not something that causes problems for me, as far as I know, because it's okay to eat tomatoes. Now,
But on your system, it isn't. I'm teasing. I will do that with tomatoes too. There were probably 3 weeks ago I couldn't eat enough tomatoes. Probably the vitamin A. It's also a good way to get rid of dehydration. Quickest way to eliminate dehydration. Celery juice, tomatoes are the best non-high fruit concentrations of sodium. So it relaxes my, sometimes the body, in utilizing fat, starts to dehydrate when it detoxes old toxic fats because it has to pull in extra fluids. And I don't like to drink water because it's leaching and it's very non-nutritive. So I like to use something with enzymes and electrolytes in it. So I would use tomatoes or vegetable juice to correct that.
Do you juice some tomatoes in the vegetables?
No, I will eat the tomatoes.
With the vegetables?
No. You don't have to have them together. I'm just saying those two forms are good ways to take care of dehydration. I eat them. Because your body can't digest much of the fiber in the tomato skin peel, but there's a lot of vitamin D and vitamin A in the skin itself. And even if I only digest a third of it, it's a lot. It's concentrated. Then I don't have a craving for carrot juice at all. Yes?
A follow-up on the food issue. I'm still up to it. Do you find that you can eat more fruit and not have any reactions? Is that okay?
Yes, but a lot of people can't determine their own, when they're emotionally involved in their own issues and their own stuff, they don't see that they're having a problem. Like this girl doesn't see that she's having a problem, but everybody around her has commented about it to me. So she's not able to see that it's too much. And I tried to have a conversation with her about it. She got very upset. Said, "I feel great. What do you mean? This is a great diet. My diet is great." She said, "I don't know how you can eat what you do because I wouldn't be enjoying it. I love the taste of my food."
Before the diet, I used to eat a lot of food, and I didn't feel any reaction. Should I try adding more food?
Well, I would say, let somebody around who is close to you, knows you, be a mirror or a sounding board. I can be clear about it now because I've been there and I'm removed from it. But when I'm there, like about last summer, I tried to do a lot of fruit for a week. And I didn't see it at first, but all of a sudden one day I realized I was getting irritable again. I was getting, too excited, too irritable, too sexual, all of it. And, it can be trying. Of course, I'm diabetic, so,
Eating more food help with weight gain?
Eating more fruit?
Yeah.
Not necessarily. No. Usually a lot of fruit interferes with weight gain because it breaks the sugars down and makes them into fuel instead of allowing muscle.
You said that some people are okay with vegetarian. People like that, or people who
She's not good with
maybe
it.
not
People,
long-term?
I've seen only a few people who can eat a lot of fruit, mainly a fruitarian diet, and function and think and do very well. But it's very few.
Do you think they might eventually become problems?
Well, one of them was a 70-year-old man, and about 2 years ago, he started having problems, so he started eating meat. So, the others aren't that old yet. He's the oldest. Pardon?
You think David Wolf's not certain?
Yeah, when he hit 70 years old, I think David's going to have a problem. He looks like one of them's going to have a problem. When he hits 60, 65. Can't say for sure, but he has that kind of personality and has that kind of physical chemistry that tells me that he'll probably have a problem.
Is one portion or one basket of food too much to have a day?
It depends upon the individual. If you've got a good working pancreas, you have a whole pint a day.
Once your pancreas heals, you can have more fruit.
Yes, if it does heal, the pancreas is the only gland that I very rarely see heal much. Now, I've been eating raw food since 1972, almost exclusively, and my pancreas is repaired from diabetes only by 15%.
So within that time, it's only about 50%.
Yeah.
You would heal the pancreas.
Well, that's just my experience. I've only seen a few other people heal their pancreases very much at all. Most people will take care of every other gland, but not the pancreas. It's like, the body's own sugar spread.
How come you wouldn't say not to eat that?
Well, when you're a vegan, you're eating lots of whole vegetables. That destroys your enzymes in your system. The bowels are normally acidic. In a vegetarian, they're over-alkaline, so most of the bacteria is destroyed. That's why they usually have no bowel movements unless they're eating high fiber. And if they stop eating high fiber and go on this diet, they usually have constipation for quite a while. So it depends upon the number of years that they've been vegetarians, but they will reduce their ability to digest more and more foods every year.
One thing is that with the large intestine that they eat from the buffalo, the contents, doesn't that repair different organs in your body?
You're not going to get a vegetarian to eat cow shit.
No, I know. I've been saying,
Buffalo.
in terms of what it could do.
Pardon? Yeah, it would help. Definitely help. Absolutely. To restore it. Yes. Yeah. A lot of you laughing, but every animal eats shit except humans. They do very well with it.
How do you control vegetarian food?
Yeah, exactly.
So they're not
That's
able
the
to
human.
metabolize that.
But what you have to do is say, listen, that's vegetation coming from the cow. It's just pre-digested for you. Edward Howe, the so-called father of enzyme nutrition, did an experiment to copy or to prove Pottinger's work with those 900 cats over a 10-year period to show that, to prove that, yes, cooked foods do create diseases in animals and raw foods allows for no disease. So he did this experiment, which was a little over 3 years. I forgot how many rats. I think he had 58, 57 rats, something like near 60 rats for the first experiment. Those that ate the cooked foods at the end of their lives in 3 years had all the diseases of man. Those that ate raw had no diseases, but they all lived 3 years. Now this is very different from Pottinger's work because the cats lived 1/3 less of their life than the cats. The cats on cooked food lived 1/3 less than the cats that ate raw food that didn't have any diseases. So he was very concerned about that. Part of the experiment, didn't know what was happening, thought maybe it was just some bacterial activity or something was happening in the rat that was unusual. Maybe they have a particular hormone that's different from cats. So he's going over the notes over and over and over again for a year and finally realized that there was one very peculiar difference. The cats who ate cooked foods ate their feces, ate each other's feces, but they ate all of it. Now, he didn't have to clean out the cage. They ate all the feces, or most of it. And so he decided to redo the experiment, and sure enough, he put a wire mesh down so the rats, when they had a movement, the fecal matter fell through the screen. They only lived 2 years instead of 3 years this time. So fecal matter is very beneficial. All animals know it except for humans. And I've used it in a few situations, recommended it for people with very aggressive cancers that have metastasized all over their systems. One fellow came to me about 4 months ago this is the third time he's had cancer. He's only about my age, 55 in a few days. I guess he's 56 or 57. When he was metastasized this time, he had the lungs, liver, intestines, and he had part of his intestines already removed 10 years earlier from cancer, and I think it was in his pancreas. So it was pretty aggressive. He was going quickly, just getting thinner and thinner. So I had a lot of buffalo fecal matter and bowel tissue, and I gave it to him and said, what I recommend is you eat, at least a tablespoon a day, preferably 2 a day, 5 days off 6 days, even 5 days off 6 days for about 30 days. And I think he did it for only the first week, because I didn't give him much. I told him where he could get more, and then I don't think he did. And he was taking morphine because of the pain. And every client that I have had who's on morphine has never made it, because it breaks their appetite and they can't eat enough. So they just disintegrate, deteriorate. So what it did for him, that fecal matter allowed him to have a hell of an appetite. So he gained 10 pounds in about 10 days. And the last time I talked to him, he was up 20 pounds. So he was much more focused and able from eating that little bit of fecal matter. And that was the first person I had really, I drove it into him to do it. It's very difficult to do with women who have cancer. I'd say most of the people who come to me with cancer are women. And it's very difficult for you women to get into eating shit. Pardon? No, it isn't. It's not even as bad as high meat, because all it does is taste like overcooked. Did your mother ever cook overcooked vegetables? That's what it tastes like, overcooked vegetables. No. It tastes like what it is. It tastes like vegetables overcooked. And if you like vegetables overcooked, it'll be fine. If you like me, you'll go want to vomit. So, just swallow it down. But you can drink it. You can have it wash it down with milk. That's not a problem. I don't recommend it. I recommend taking it from an animal that's healthy. I get it from Kathy gets it for me. We have some people who slaughter buffalo for us. And we get all the glands, and we ask them to give us so many pounds of the bowels, with all the contents in it. By the way, I need to get some more. I need about a couple of pounds of more bowel with fecal matter. I've given it all away. Pardon? Probably because of the vagotomy that I had, I have less digestive acids. So sometimes I eat a high amount of meat, fat. I have very loose stools, not diarrhea, but loose stools. That's an indication that I'm not digesting all of it. And if I eat the fecal matter, I can digest a lot more.
Speaking about that, I just want to explain with everybody that I had it yesterday. The cows, the buffaloes give me intestinal content, and I had 2 bowel movements today.
Yeah. And a lot of people have constipation and it relieves it, And if it's the other way around, if they have a lot of diarrhea, it helps reverse it the other way. Eating shit is good. Not very tasty, because I hate cooked vegetables. Okay, question.
The long-term effects on your eyesight that we normally do when you're doing your 40s and reading, do you get a long-term progression with the lens softening or getting sharper on the diet?
It's very individual. Most people who get on the diet are beyond 30. And usually the toxicity and scarring is already set in the eyes. So reversing that may take 15 to 20 years on the diet. I had 15, the only healthy thing about me in my whole life was eyesight. I had 15 vision. As a child, I could see the hairs on a fly's legs without magnification, and I could read a magazine from that picture over there to here. When I get cancer of the face, when that aerospace epoxy came out of my bone in the nose, and the cancer burned my nose away, a third of my nose away, burned a hole in here in the bone, and a hole in my head here. The acid ran down and burned that eye. So that damaged the sight in this eye. They said that I'd never be able to see out of it properly without a lens transplant. Anybody want to donate? Anyway, it was very thick adhesion. It was probably about 8 to 10 layers, depending upon the area. And I keep taking photographs of it at different angles to see each year. It's, whether it's diminished. And the layers have been diminished down to just 2 now. So the eyes are healing. There are other people whose eyes improved greatly. Those people are people who usually put either egg white in their eye or butter in their eye every other day or once or twice a week. And those people's eyes improve on a steady basis. But you actually have to feed the eye directly, I've found, to implement that. In this eye? Oh, it's improving. I can't tell your eyelashes apart, but I can see out of it much better. I can tell who you are. Very well. Yeah.
Is there any reason it's better to do it only once or twice a week or every other day rather than daily?
I would say it depends upon your eye. A lot of people who tried putting butter in the eye, because it's so thick, and you only put like a drop in. You lie back. Most people who get it lie back, and they have to let it sit just with their eyes closed for 10 minutes. That'll completely melt and allow it to absorb. Otherwise, if you walk around like this, trying to see with butter in your eyes, it stays too cool. And it won't absorb, and you've got this film over your eye. And you won't be able to see very well. So, but the egg white, you can put that right in and see perfectly and not wipe it away and not have to keep your eyes closed. But the oil may be a little too, I've seen a few people put the butter in 2 and 3 times a day every day. And then all of a sudden it'll cause a massive eye detox where they start putting out sand. I mean, that's a hell of a forced detox, and people would improve their vision quicker, but, you may be impaired from vision for a day or 2. That means functioning. You can't go out if you've got sand, in your eyes. You've got to lie there and just let it ooze and, get it to the center of your eye to get it out. And if it keeps coming out during the day, you can't function. Can you imagine driving and all of a sudden one of those comes into your eye?
But after a couple of days, you're okay.
Yeah. But that takes, I think that it took something like 3 weeks before one person experienced it. Doing it every day 3 times a day.
Egg white's drying your lashes.
Well, wipe that off with your eyelash. But if you take your little eye thing, with eye curler, eyelash curler with that egg white on there, what a curler it does, and also makes it very dark and thick. So there's a beauty tip for you. When I used to do acting, that's what I did to make my eyelashes thick. I took a little paintbrush with egg white and brushed it on my eyelashes, and they went like this, curling. That was all I did. And it worked. It worked great for photographs. Because, I didn't want them to put, because they go, you're going to sets like soaps, they like to make everybody look pretty. So when I was in General Hospital for 5.5 years, you put mascara on me. I was no way.
You think this is okay for eyeliner, like, from the Middle East?
What I suggest people do is take blueberry or some berry, press it, and just take a paintbrush and paint it on. It will stain. If you put just a touch of vinegar in it, it will set just like an Easter egg. Put it on your lips, put it on everywhere. That's what I used to use to, when they wanted to make me a funny character. Or when I was on stage, that's what I do when I do stage plays. It works very well.
You know what I'd love
Back shit.
Uh-huh.
It was really great for like making it, darken my eyelashes. I don't know where you can find
Go in a cave.
What kind of a brush would you use? You just
He did. Great paintbrush, he said.
Okay. Yes.
What you were talking about with the butter and all, that's for nearsighted, farsighted, any kind of...
Any kind of eye problem. Yes.
my eyes are feeling like doing a lot of stuff. Then if I wake up and there's something wrong, that when you're unconscious.
Yes. That's a very good thing. It just happens. People will go through different detoxes at different times. Last year, after I forced the meningitis by eating 8 ounces of high fish, I had grains coming out of my eyes. Part of the brain dumping, because the brain can only dump out the sinuses, the eyes, and the ears, and the mouth, and the gums, and the salivary glands.
But you don't recommend that for everybody.
I don't recommend it for anybody unless they're very brave.
So is vision problems a real health problem then?
Yes. I have a psychologist in Santa Fe, New Mexico, came to me about 5 or 6 years ago, and she's an expert witness for the federal government. She, like McVeigh, she's a psychologist that, questioned him and had, interviews with him to determine whether he was sane to go on trial or not. So she's pretty high-powered. She's had asthma most of her life on inhalers and prednisone and some other drugs. She's down to maybe taking 1/10 of her medication and rarely takes an inhaler at all. She always had red eyes because of that. So she always looked stoned when she was up on the witness stand. So she said, "Is there anything I can do about that?" And I said, "Yes, just drop a few drops a day. Take a, eyedropper, break an egg into a glass, take some egg white out, drop 2 drops into each eye, with your head back and pull your eyelids completely away from the eye, and then roll your eye around for about a minute." So she did that about 3 days a week. And about, I think it was 3 months after, a year and 3 months after she was on the diet, she called me in panic one day. She said, "My eyes are so bad I can't see. I can't even read signs on the road anymore. This diet isn't working." I said, wait a minute. You have multiple problems. The diet's taking care of some of them, and you've only been on the diet a year and 3 months. It's not going to repair you and everything. In a year and 3 months, it takes 40 years to clean up everything and rebuild everything 5 times before you'll be optimal. So, if you're still having eye deterioration, that's probably because of your medications that you're still taking. You need to go to the optometrist and get a new prescription. So she went to the optometrist, and her eyesight was about 23-30% better. So she had to have a reduction in her prescription. That's the first person I knew that put the egg white in her eye on a regular basis, but she got an instant improvement. So I started suggesting other people who wanted to improve their eyes that they put it regularly in their eyes, the egg white. And sure enough, it stops in every case of people who had continued to degenerate even on the diet with their eyesight. It stopped it immediately, and for most people, it reverses it. I probably do it at night and morning if I have real eye trouble. Because at night you can kind of use it to help the body clean out any pollution that is absorbed into the eye lining, and then do it in the morning just to refresh and feed the eye directly. And your eyes are so not... her eyes used to be very, very bloodshot all the time, and now they're much clearer. So it's working. Pardon? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, your guy can't heal unless it's, regenerating cells. Just the egg white. You put the yolk in there, you can be cloudy. Very cloudy.
I usually let one sit in a jar and use it for a couple of days because I just drop it in the bottom and actually gets easier when it's more
Liquidy, yeah, but then it starts decomposing, and then they cause an eye detox instead of an eye nourishment feeding. So I'd be careful with that. You might end up with pink eye. That's not a bad thing, but it's a health thing to go through. And everybody thinks you're contagious because medical profession, that's another thing they say is contagious. And people run for the hills. You're around children, people panic. Okay, question. Never drink a smoothie with meat. It has fruit in it. Smoothie has meat. Smoothie is with egg and fruit. I mean, the smoothie is always with fruit. So it's usually with fruit and egg is a smooth, basic smoothie. If you can add milk to it and have other kinds of milk, milkshake smoothies. But it's not good to have with meat. It's not a good idea because you'll start turning the protein into a pyruvate, which is a protein sugar, and you'll burn it rather than use it to regenerate cells. So you won't be reversing the aging process. You'll just give yourself a lot more fuel. No, I'm saying smoothies, the terminology smoothie means fruit in it. Milkshake means no fruit in it. Yes, you can't have that with meat if you have a very good digestive system. Right. If you have indigestion or you go too long without hunger after eating a milkshake with a meat meal, then don't have them together or have less of the milkshake with it. I can't mix a milkshake and meat together and digest it very well. You can do lube and meat, yes. Because the butter is very different, alters it. Tomato is always good with meat. Tomato is an acid. So it doesn't interfere with the intestinal bacteria, the acid bacteria. So it's always beneficial. However, if you're eating zucchini and cucumber, they can over-alkalinize, so you shouldn't have too much. You're going to have it. Yes. Absolutely. You have a question, Tony?
Yes, I do. The day I started the diet, I did a cartwheel, and I guess I sprang a ligament. I'm not sure what happened to
In your leg, your back, or where?
Yeah, and my hip's been coming out now for 3 years. I thought that almost healed because I'm working in acupuncture. Is there anything I can do on the diet to help to strengthen or heal that ligament?
Not that you'd be happy about. Tony's a model. So, yes, yep. That's the only way you can heal those parts quickly is to gain a lot of weight. It's like, is Frank here? Okay, Frank, he finally got up to a very heavy weight. And he says, oh my God, I know what you're talking about. He says, I feel so grounded and so good now. And that's the truth. When you gain, when you're fat and happy is a real, is a reality.
They call you names though.
Because, I said, you know why?
People always
What's
tell
the
you.
limits where it's not healthy?
I would say probably for, pardon?
300 is not so good.
Well, it depends on, if you're a wrestler, it is. And you're keeping active with all that weight and making it work for you, it can be very good. So it depends upon the individual. I had one client who was 5'2" and a half, and she said she's not short, she just scaled down. And she got up to 160 one time. And that was pretty big. It's bigger than anybody in this room. Close to your size. And she was felt so grounded and so happy, and it wasn't a problem for her. And she had more health progress in that 6 months that she stayed that way than I'd ever seen her go through. So, it's an individual thing. And I've gotten up, I've gained as much as 60 pounds. And, when I was very thin, I gained 60 pounds. All that cream, I was a quart of cream a day, plus a brick of cheese a day. I mean, I was putting it on. I gained 60 pounds in like 4 months, 5 months. And I felt great. I felt wonderful. And all these girls were attracted to me. It was incredible. I had never had so many girls. And I could take care of them all, too. I had 5 girls at one time, and I'd never done that before. I had all this energy and power. It was great. And they all showed up at my door at the same time, within a half an hour of each other. And guess what I did? I went to a motel and let them stay together for the night. I was very honest. I all let them know I was going with all of them. So they had a good party. They had a great time. They all got along wonderfully. And I had a good time at the hotel. So being overweight may not be a problem. It's usually not a problem. It's usually very beneficial. It's the psychology of getting through it. Yes, Vic?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's an accident-related situation, but I have tingling in these fingers.
Uh-huh.
I'm an accident lawyer, so I can go through the cause and effect of it. So I don't know how much my thinking is going to impact on the say to you.
Uh-huh.
But it's these 2 fingers and also my right leg. There's another.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed that I have a couple disc herniation and whole deal, right? Do you have any ideas about that?
Nerve damage can come from so many things. Let's say you could have a center in the brain that's definitely like with Alzheimer's or Parkinson. You have a definite area in the brain that may be connected with those 2 fingers, and and your right leg, and those 2 fingers could be in your spine. Something pinched or blocked up in the one up here that leads down to those 2 fingers, and also the one down here that leads to the knee. So if you have pain in the spine that relates, if it's the fingers, it's up in here.
Yeah.
And if you have any pain there, stiffness, it's probably there that's a problem. And here, if you don't have any pain or discomfort in those areas, it's probably in the brain.
Yeah.
Or it's localized. And from a sprain or, a break or something like that, or torn ligament. But that would also mean some pain in that area, along with the numbness, some aching, some strain, especially if you sleep on it. When the circulation's cut off, he goes into pain. So if you don't have that, it's brain. If you don't have either of those, it's in the brain.
Meaning that is.
You have some neurological tissue that's probably dead.
Yeah.
And
Is it brain injury or just a toxic condition?
Well, it could be either way. And an injury, when you have, let's say, mercury from, let's say, a vaccine or a flu shot or anything like that, they all carry thimerosal, which is liquid mercury, and they'll cause that repeatedly. That's why it causes so much autism in children.
What about regeneration of brain tissue? Do you believe it's possible?
Yes, as I said in my book, it certainly did it for my son. It certainly did it for me. I was autistic. I was autistic from all the vaccines of the thimerosal.
So you got dead brain cells, that's not permanent necessarily.
No, it's never permanent, right. But mine wasn't advancing as much as mine got to a certain point. I probably reversed a lot of 20% of the scarring in my brain in probably the first 6 years that I was on the diet and got onto a healthier diet. And then it just stopped completely up until a year ago when I ate the high fish, a whole 8 ounces of high fish. It removed 20% of my brain scarring in a matter of about 4 months, going through the meningitis from eating the 8 ounces of high fish. But that was a difficult detox for a while. I was in a severe pain.
How long did it last?
I would say I had the effects for about 6 weeks, from minor to major, to minor again, but it was over. Severe pain lasted for about 10 days,
So you
where it peaked about 3 days, where, Lori was lifting my legs, onto the couch because I just couldn't move anything from the waist down without severe pain, and sleeping in the bathtub, and that lasted, probably 6 days. The 3 days where I couldn't even move myself.
I find that extremely powerful, that the high fish is more reactive than ever.
Yeah. And I ate 8 ounces, which was way too much.
What is that result?
High fish, it's letting meat rot on its own, decompose on its own with its own bacteria. So what you do is you chop it up, you put it in a jar with equal amount of air. You have to take it out of the house because you don't stink up your house. Take it out of the house, open it every 3 to 4 days, move the jar in the air just twice with a figure 8. Put the lid back on tightly, because as the gases build, they'll leak out into your refrigerator if you don't open them and let the gas out. A lot of people will do that. They say, I don't feel like doing it for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And this gas keeps building up in there. And it just leaks out in the refrigerator, and you say, I got a tight lid on that. Why is it stinking so badly? Because, hell, you got to take it outside and let it air. And anyway, the bacteria stops growing because it's aerobic bacteria. So it needs to progress through all of its stages. And if you don't take it out every 3 to 4 days, it goes dormant at that point. Doesn't mean you can't use it. It's just that it goes dormant. And it takes an exposure and at least 3 to 4 days for the bacteria to get active again before you can take it. So if you take it when it's not active, it just won't do you much good. You're just taking stinky meat. And what that stinky meat does is your body cleans itself in 3 ways. I say this at every meeting. It's probably one of the most important things I talk about. You use solvents just like we use degreasers and compounds to dissolve other compounds. Whether it's plastic, wood, metal, no matter what it is in the body, if it's inorganic, that's the only way your body can dissolve those toxins, because bacteria, parasites, molds, they will not break down inorganic material from pollution, cooked foods, stuff like that stores in the body. So your body has to make these solvents, and it does it from about 80% fat, 15% protein, and 5% alcohol, which your body makes from fermenting carbohydrates in the body. So it goes in and dissolves whatever's in the body that needs to be dissolved. Some people have no bacteria. People like me who've had intense radiation and chemotherapy, it poisons the whole system, so parasites, bacteria can't live in the body. So the body has to do only the solvent process. It's a very slow, tedious process. And one of the byproducts of it is identical to turpentine. And it says toxic to the human body. So it creates a low-grade lethargy, maybe depression, fatigue. So the body isn't real happy when it has to go through that. And you'll see people eat the high meat that they make after about 4 weeks. You need to let it go 4 weeks. If you eat that, all of a sudden you get this high, because what you've done is introduce bacteria into the body. And all of a sudden the body doesn't have to use only the solvent process, which is slow and very toxic. So the body can use virus, bacteria, molds, yeast is a mold, and to dissolve compounds in your body, so your body has help. It doesn't have to do everything on its own. It's like, let's say you were the only person in this room and we piled garbage all over the place and you had to stay and clean it up all by yourself. And you had 24 hours to do it, and it would take you 80 hours to do on your own. So then all of a sudden we bring a bunch of people in here to help you to do it. That's what happens when you eat the high meats, high bacteria meats. Introducing bacteria into the body to help you clean up the garbage. And the byproducts from the virus, the bacteria, and the molds working are half as toxic as the turpentine-like substance. And they work twice as fast. Then the third way are parasites. They work 5 times faster than your body can use the solvent process. and 100 times less toxic. That's why most people who have parasites don't even know it. But the problem is that if you don't eat enough meat to regenerate cells, you have ulcerations, gut exchange, paralysis, death. On this diet, eating raw meats, it doesn't have to be high meats, just raw meats to regenerate cells, everybody gets well faster. And in the animal tests, all animals got well faster if they had parasites.
What about somebody on a standard diet who's highly beneficial?
I haven't worked with anybody on that basis, so I would hate to theorize and say.
How do you get parasites? That's nothing to adjust surgery.
Well, Dr. Joel Weinstock at the University of Iowa did experiments where he took 6 people with chronic inflammatory bowel syndrome, which is one of the most painful diseases there is because it's always painful. If it goes into Crohn's, then it even affects the joints and can cripple people. But just the chronic bowel syndrome can cause severe intestinal pain where people can't even move. They're always in pain, always in diarrhea or constipation, one or the other. And it's usually diarrhea. Very thin, very emaciated people. So all of these people that he did experiments with were unaffected by medical treatment. So of course the AMA says, oh, if you got a bunch of people that aren't reacting to medical, you can do something alternative and use them as a guinea pig. So these 6 people agreed to it. They were all elderly people with this disease who had suffered with it for at least 20 years. And what he did was he felt that because all this study showed that all animals have intestinal parasites. Since the pig is most like our intestinal tract, he took the whipworm from the pig's intestines, filtered out the eggs, put it in Gatorade, and had these people quaff this parasite egg Gatorade. And they all got the parasites, and 5 of the 6 immediately went into remission and stayed there for 5 months. So he proved his point. He also showed that if you clear the intestines of monkeys, captive monkeys, and what other animal it was, I don't remember what other animal, if you cleared them of bacteria, they got very sick. Cleared them of parasites, they got very sick. So he says cleanliness is not what it's, not what it's built up to be.
So if we wanted to inject parasites, where would we get them?
Well, what I did, I took, in my experiment, when I found out about this, I'm gung-ho. I went out and looked in the garbage cans. I knew the only place you're going to find massive parasites is in a garbage can outside of a fish market. So I went into a garbage outside of the fish market and found a piece of salmon that was undulating with pinworms. And I ate the worms and all, and I did not get parasites. But I was only, that was only 8 years after having all the chemo and radiation, so I was still so poisoned that no parasite could live in my body.
Like fish? Does that have parasites?
No. That's mainly bacteria. If you incubate it the right way and let it sit in a warm temperature, eventually it will grow parasites, but we make the high meat in the refrigerator so it won't generate parasites and doesn't move through the stages so quickly. And I also ate calf's brain infested with flukes and chicken tripe infested with parasites, and I couldn't get it on. I haven't tried it in probably 12 years. I probably could get them now. So I'm able to get more better. No, it's very hard to tell whether they have parasites. I can't tell from the irises usually. Sometimes I do. If I'm looking at somebody's eyes over a 3-month period and there's a mass change in an area, I can usually tell they're a parasite. And I've seen that, and I said, go check and see if you have parasites. Go get some tests done. And sure enough, most of the people had parasites in those areas.
So when people go to Mexico and then they come back and their doctor tells them they have parasites, Should you be happy that you have them?
Absolutely. Throw a party.
Should we go to Mexico to get them?
Well, what I found was that people on this diet aren't affected by them in that way. Tony Plana was an actor who was the second lead in El Salvador. He played a double song role. But in the movie called Latino, shot in Nicaragua in, I guess it was 86, 85. He was one of my clients. He brought me a full 11 by 8.5 sheet. No, it was 14 by 11, legal size paper, 8.5 by 14. Of all these things of not to do when he's down there in the jungle. Don't drink the water. Always wash your hands. Don't eat any raw foods, not even a raw salad. Boil your water. Distilled is better. Always have your meat more than well done. And I said, Tony, you do the exact opposite of everything it says. When you're swamps, drink the swamp water. Do everything it says not to do, and you won't get sick. He'd been eating this diet since about 79, I think he became my client. So this was a good 5 years, 6 years, 7 years he was on the diet. And eating lots of meat and all of that. So he went down there, and they spent 3 months there. They went a month and a half over schedule. And Haster Wexler, the Academy Award winner, cinematographer, was the writer, director, producer, cinematographer of this film. It's a political film. And about U.S. involvement, just like El Salvador was by Oliver Stone's. But his was about El Salvador, and Latino was about Nicaragua. And the film was shut down for 3 weeks because Robert Beltran, who was the lead actor, got frightfully ill. Everybody on the entire set in a 3-week period got deathly ill. They had to shut the film down. Tony's the only one who didn't get sick. And he ate the raw meat, he ate salads, he did everything that they said not to do. He did not get sick.
So really their bodies are detoxing.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But it's a massive detox. The body's saying, thank God for this bacteria. Now let's get the shit out. Literally. Vomit and diarrhea. Yes.
Do you think there are any viruses that are not good for you, like hepatitis or something?
No, hepatitis is excellent because usually when a liver gets hepatitis, that liver is about to shut down for good. It's a serious progression of liver toxicity. So you get the hepatitis, any of those hepatitis C, B, H, G, A, any of them, they're all beneficial. I've seen them as long as people are on a good diet where they're eating raw meats, that liver gets well faster than I've ever seen.
My cousin has it because the doctor tells her not to do that because it's worried about.
Well, see, they're just going on speculation. They speculate that they believe in the germ theory, which is speculation. It's never been proved. In fact, it's mainly been disproved. Yet they hold on to it. So they have no idea. They don't know anybody who's done a raw meat diet. They've never tried it themselves, and yet they're postulating this bullshit. And there's not one clinical test proving that raw meat is a problem. Not one clinical test in any university. Not one. And you ask them to show you the science? Oh, well, the CDC says. Well, where's CDC science? CDC doesn't have it either. They're the worst, panic-stricken hysteria mongers in the world. Because they're all a bunch of doctors who believe in the germ theory. CDC, Central Disease Control. Center. It should be control.
So when you travel anywhere in the world, you should never listen to what they say, to do the shots, blah, 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 blah.
That's right. Forget it.
Say that again.
She said if you go to any country and they say you should have shots and you should not eat this and that, don't do it.
What if you're start detoxing and you don't have access to butter or whatever?
Well, you can always get raw eggs and raw meat anywhere, and go for that. Lots of raw eggs. And raw chicken if you can, raw fish if you can, raw chicken. I don't care if it's not refrigerated. Eggs are, yes, you should not refrigerate eggs, you know, if
But
you
like,
get them.
you know, you go to the kitchen or something.
Why shouldn't you
restaurant,
refrigerate
eggs?
Yeah,
should be
well-
refrigerated.
Well, yeah, just get them and leave them out, get a bunch of them. If you know you're going to go through that kind of a problem, you live on eggs, and just keep them out of the refrigerator. Okay.
I have a question about the lids on my canning jars. I recently bought the new fancy ones, you know, that are like
Enameled all over.
white enamel,
Yeah.
pretty patterns and everything. And I noticed
What are you laughing at? I like them too. I've got one with peaches on.
Yeah, strawberry.
Where do you
Yeah.
get
They look
yours?
pretty.
Yes.
I can't remember the lady's name who that was.
Margaret
Stewart. So what I'm finding is that the ring part gets rusty on the inside, like quicker than if I just used the regular plain lids and supplies. I'm just wondering,
Where does it get rusty? On the outer edge?
you know where the flat circle sits right up into the ring, then on that inside of the ring part, it's getting rusty. Like this.
I haven't had that problem. You may have had a bad batch.
Really?
I only have one that has that.
Where did you get yours?
Yeah. I don't have that problem.
So, but when the rings get rusty, even though that rust isn't like sitting on the glass,
It'll fall down. It'll flake down into your
I
food.
should just, it's just like a discoloration like rust, but I should just stop using it.
Absolutely. If I get a scratch, the enamel scratch, that lid goes immediately.
Same with the metal ones. If they get a scratch or.
I don't even use the metal ones because that'll flake right into your food instantly. Use the enamel tops.
Enamel tops.
Like the flat.
Yeah, but the plastic don't seal as well.
Where did you get your new ones?
Pardon?
Where did you get the new versions now?
On the internet, I found a place that has some really
Could you give us the number?
Yeah,
And they come in little packages.
right, 6 to a package.
Or like Albertsons or something.
Ralph's.
I got it at Ralph's Market.
Yes, Tony.
Which Ralphs are you talking about?
Wait until after that.
I've noticed that, remember when I first met you, I had these little, like, red marks on my hand that thought were like
Eczema.
it was from metal. It was refused from metal.
Yeah, but it caused an eczema.
So eventually those went away, but I noticed with all the little jars, you're drinking directly out of the jars. And I think that when the metal wraps around the top of the jar, it gets on the jar too. And now I've taken to not even drinking out of the jars anymore. I pour it in something else. And I had one of those, and now that's going in. So I think I was getting too many metals from the rings around the jars in my system.
See, here's one of those fancy jars.
Right.
This is the peach.
Oh, that's pretty.
Isn't that pretty?
Yeah.
Could you give us the phone number?
I didn't bring my list with me.
Oh, I'll see you tomorrow.
Someplace in Pennsylvania, I think it is.
Oh, I'll see you tomorrow.
They have them at Ralph's on the west side on that.
I don't know if they have peach. They usually have the gingham. I've only seen the gingham around here. Did you get the peach or just the gingham?
I got the gingham and the strawberries.
The strawberries. Okay, they have peach and they have holly. Now you're talking about this rim right here, this inner part.
No, the ring.
This ring?
Yeah, like right on the inside, like the flat top part.
Okay. I never have that problem because I don't let it get wet, and I dry them instantly. I do not let them sit.
Okay, so
Any of these will rust. Will dry them. If I rinse them, I instantly take my towel and dry the lids because they will rust.
okay, and then
Yep, but you know, you're going to go through dozens of these and cause more pollution in the world.
The Ralphs would be something.
This is behind me. Me, I'm going to eat.
and so I've been wondering about like the metal silverware. Like some people have like silver spoons or whatever. You shouldn't even use them.
Never real silverware. Stainless steel is
Like
okay.
this?
It's not gonna- It is. I don't like the taste of it, so I use wood mostly,
Okay,
or my fingers, hand.
great.
Don't use this.
I'm an animal.
Don't use this kind of a spoon.
I'm not saying don't. I'm just saying, if you don't like the taste of metal, use a wooden spoon.
Oh,
It's up to you. But if you're using silverware, real silver, there's mercury, there's lead, there's all kinds of toxicity. That, you know how silverware tarnishes? That's a mold. It flakes off into your food. I don't care which stage it is, even if you can't see them, you just polish them. And that's a chemical, so the solvent gets into your food.
so in
So
other
don't go
words,
near silverware. Stainless steel is fine. Brass is, again, highly mold reactive.
Well, these plated, like gold plated.
Well, gold plated is okay. Gold doesn't mold. Next. Oh, is this the same subject?
Plastic?
Okay. Frank. Frank. You're I'm sorry. Arlene.
I wanted to ask you about my cousin who went to see, being treated by Dr. Brzezinski. What happened is, when he spoke with me, the FDA would not allow Brzezinski to treat him, and he went to his colleague in Japan.
Right.
And his tumor was a colon cancer that splits the liver very aggressively. And they determined there that while they're treating him with this substance, and I don't recall the name of it, which he told him it was a chemical, nonetheless it mimics something in the human body.
Right.
They give him what they call a light chemotherapy, and they do a surgical procedure where they put it directly into the liver, so it's not the same as they do here.
Right.
But it still causes him some nausea.
Oh, yeah.
So, although we understand that we do nothing but here,
Right.
right. When he's done with that, and they're having very positive results, but it should take 5 months. When he's done with that, and he started appetite back, he is thinking about going on the diet. And has this chemotherapy, the one where Dr. Brzezinski does, harmed him in any way?
Of course it has. Yeah, it's reduced his chances of reversing cancer completely. Before I came here, I went to a memorial for one of the executives of Scientology who was on the diet. She'd come to me after chemo, and I think she had had surgery too. Wonderful, high-powered woman. I mean, you talk about mind over matter. If anybody had mind over matter, this woman could do it. Cancer still got her. I was just at the memorial. She didn't deteriorate like other people had, and she had a great, almost 3 years, living with the diet. When she started on the diet, she was exhausted, couldn't do anything. She didn't feel well after the chemo and the surgeries, and didn't want to really live. And then she got on the diet, and her whole life turned around, so she was doing great. Well, the surgery, when the cancer came back, I asked her to do the fecal matter, but she wouldn't do it. I pled with her to do the fecal matter.
Would there be a difference though in this lighter form of chemotherapy that
You put anything in the liver, it keeps damaging the liver tissue. And that means you digest less and less fats. And the fats are what you majorly need with cancer, because that's what dissolves dead cells. So, but that doesn't mean he won't make it. I've had other people make it, beyond 5 years that have had that kind of, therapy.
What about the calcium?
Well, that would help him turn the cancer around, definitely, for permanent. Yeah.
If you stop getting chemo, if you just like...
If he continues, well, if he can get it down to where it's not, they're not making creating the hysteria that makes him go to get more chemo, and then he can repair it from there.
I think you're stopping the chemo now after about 2 months, and then by another 3 months, the risk
2 months is a lot of chemo. A lot of kids, plus, especially if they put what they call it as a liver bomb. And they put it in there. They literally used to call it a liver bomb because it would just secrete the chemo like every 4 to 12 hours. It would secrete so much. and he was on like a timer, actually mechanical timer, and they implant it in an organ or gland that's affected. And I know one fellow who's lived 7 years beyond it. You know, so he's doing okay, but others I've seen not make it. He's liver bombed. Yes, they do.
In a case like that one, is there ever a thought of doing a chemo or something like that to keep the person alive long enough so that they can get to perhaps a raw diet?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I have a lot of those, but only about 60% have made it beyond, so many years.
Well, the lady in Scientology, did she continue with the chemotherapy?
No. When she knew they was killing her, she stopped. And she was introduced to this doctor. And she came to me, and she did much better, doing great. And then a year ago, it started coming back. But she didn't come to me until a few months ago, so it's too late. Unless she ate fakel matter. I told her to eat fakel matter.
And that would make a difference.
She wouldn't do it.
That would make a big difference.
That would have made a big difference. Big difference.
Clean the
And she
liver.
just put it in a smoothie and
No.
walked it. Her mind never mattered that.
If you mix it with certain foods, it neutralizes the bacteria. With just milk is okay. But if you put it with egg, it'll neutralize some of the bacteria. If you put it with honey, it'll definitely neutralize some of the bacteria. I don't know a yogurt that's raw. I don't eat that. The reason I don't eat it is because when they take a bacteria to make a yogurt or a kefir, they wash it, and that bacteria is never what it was at the beginning. And every time they wash it in city water, they put some chemicals in it, so it changes that bacteria. I like to make my milk. I like to make my own kefir, my own yogurt from my own milk with its own bacteria. So I'll put it in a dark cupboard. In the winter, I'll put it in an upper cupboard where it's warmer, and in the summer, I will put it in a lower cupboard where it's cooler. And I'll just make it that way. You have a very low ratio of time to be able to drink it all before it separates into cottage cheese. But still, that's the way I prefer it.
What's wrong with yogurt bacteria and all that people use? Isn't that from grain? So
No, some of it's from retin, some of it's from the what do we call it? Rennet, which is from the enzyme from the cow's stomach. But most of them are molds from grains, yep. And they're not used to eating meat. The milk, yep. It's not their property. That's what I'm saying. I don't use anything. Yeah. Right, because most of your starters, like she says, are from vegetables. They're not the natural bacteria that eat milk. It's the type of bacteria you put in it. One that'll thicken heavily. There are about 4 varieties that will make it thicken a lot. Only when the milk is heated.
So you put bacteria in your...
No, I'm saying I do not.
Oh, then how does it know which to become? When you make your own kefir, or you'll make...
It'll go into kefir, and then it'll go into yogurt.
Oh, so that's stage, kefir,
Yep.
yogurt.
Right.
And then cottage. Oh!
And then cottage cheese, yeah.
Well, then I need my milk sitting out, and so it's going from one to the other.
It will go if you let it sit.
And then sometimes you have to let 5 weeks. And
No.
it really gets spicy.
No, it's usually
Well, I
goes.
need it in the fridge.
It goes. Yeah, if it goes in. It's in the fridge. It still won't turn into cottage cheese very quickly once it's made that cycle.
It's a real bubbly kind of a wonderful...
Yeah, right. Yeah, most of the time it will. But sometimes it'll just go right into cottage cheese. If you put honey in it, that helps it go into kefir and a yogurt very nicely, and keeps it from going into cottage cheese. And then you can refrigerate that and keep that. That'll keep much better.
How much?
I use about 2 tablespoons per quart. You can spit in it if you want your own enzymes. If you want to have your own medicine, so your own enzymes are in the milk pre-digesting it, then expectorating into it. Maybe about a teaspoon of spit or less.
You just put the honey in, and then once it's warm enough, you can realize that you're there?
No, I usually wait till the milk is room temperature. Then I'll put the honey in it, and then I'll just sit there and nurture it for a while while I'm reading or doing something, and then set it. Because once it mixes finally, it doesn't separate again.
Then put it in the space?
Yeah. Well, I keep it in a dark space anyway, and then when it becomes room temperature, I add the honey, shake it, and put it back in the dark place. I'm shaking it to get the honey to mix with the milk. It depends on how cold the honey is. I keep my house very cold, except in the summer, because I don't use much. I rarely use the heat. Just when patients are coming, I don't want to freeze them out. So everything is very cold. So for me, it sometimes takes 5 minutes of, just going like this and that to do that. But in the summer, I need to, I'll shake it about a minute and it's all dissolved.
You can't blend it?
What aids this? That's a whole long subject that I'm not going to go into. But if you email me, I can send you a bunch of stuff on it. Okay?
How long is it covered
Without
without the honey?
the honey? It depends upon room temperature and the temperature of the milk. Takes anywhere from, in the winter, in a cold house like mine, let's say it's 60 degrees in my house or 57 degrees, it could take 3 days. If it's 80 degrees in my house, it could take a day and a half to get to the keeper stage. And then another 10 to 12 hours in that kind of heat to get to the yogurt stage. And then you have a very brief period before it go into cottage cheese, separate instantly. But with the honey in it, it doesn't do that as much. Yes? Oh, that's your question? Let's finish with this right now. You're the next questioner, though. You're the one who gets the next. Yeah.
The mimics of the cheeses, they also use bacteria from the grains. So should we not eat those cheeses?
Yeah, they usually do. No, it's fine.
Okay.
Well, when you're eating cheese, you're eating a mold. You're eating a moldy food. And that helps clean out a lot of garbage because it pulls poisons through the stomach and intestines and binds with them. You don't really digest much cheese. Cheese is there as your absorbent. Also, will help you utilize a lot of healthy minerals, so your body doesn't have to use the minerals from your juice and your other foods to bind with poisons. The minerals in the cheese will do that and leave your other minerals for utilization in the body. So it's great to get rid of pain. Question? Yes?
Can you talk about how you talk to this down the body?
Okay. The MPS, BPS, all of them are chelations. They are actual mineral toxicities or chemical solvents that are used to magnetically pull out heavy metals out of the glands and organs and veins, arteries, so that people can so-called function better. But what it does is, I have not, and most of the people I've seen, about 90 to 95% of the people I've seen that have had chelation therapy or liquid minerals or colloidal silver or high mineral supplements to do such a thing, their skin, their connective tissue, their lymph, and their bones and cartilage are all metal contaminated. Because they don't give a fat substance that is natural, that once those chelations have bound with those heavy metals, there's no way to get them out of the body. You've gotten them out of the glands and the veins and the arteries, but you have not gotten them out of the body. So they store in the lymph, connective tissues, skin, bones, and cartilage. Contaminates everybody that I've ever seen that's had chelation therapy. Liquid minerals, colloidal silver, about 95% of the people. It contaminates 90 to 95. A good way to get mercury out of the body is by eating salami. cilantro, about 10% of your juice cilantro. It's a good metal absorber, especially mercury. Eating raw fish that's high in natural mercury, like swordfish. If you cook it, yes. See, once you cook it, with the plankton, which they eat, which naturally is high in mercury, handles and makes mercury a living substance which is beneficial. It helps buoyancy for like the swordfish. All those animals are very buoyant, even the dolphins, because they have high mercury contents. But it's organic, bioactive mercury. Once you cook it, you cauterize it. It's a free radical, and it's a toxin. So as long as you don't cook your fish, it's a very beneficial mercury. It won't help you be buoyant because mostly it'll be used to pull poison mercuries out of your system. Mercuries. There are three forms of mercury. There's organic, there's inorganic, and there's vapor mercury. The vapor will crystallize, say, like you have mercury fillings. Amalgam fillings, they're 50% mercury. They let off a gas every time you're chewing on something that's acid. That gas crystallizes in your system as it's absorbed, whether it's through the lungs or into the stomach, into the tissues. It crystallizes, so it leaves little particles of mercury here and there throughout the system. When mercury is injected into the body, it's not like that. You see mercury where you put it down, you've got little beads of mercury, they'll just crawl and find each other. That's the way it reacts in the body when it's injected in the body. So you have these massive mercury deposits in the brain. That's how the brain or somewhere in the system. It happens in the brain of children. They end up with autism or death.
And where are the sources? Does that change the benefit you're getting from it?
No. What he asked was, if you use lemon or lime with the fish, does that make it a toxic mercury? No, it does not. It's like the digestive juices in the stomach. It starts taking the parts apart, but it doesn't cauterize them, it doesn't warp them.
So when you make that recipe, say for sources, with coconut water and lemon juice, is it good to drink that? Is the juice itself that you marinate?
If there's any mercury in it, it'll be bioactive.
Okay, so
Because you'll have fish tissue with it.
it's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. Let me finish the thing about the mercury. When the plankton eats the mercury, just like any plant can take strychnine, lead, and be very healthy with a trace amount of it because it's taking the minerals from the earth, and strychnine, mercury are all minerals from the earth. Well, from the ocean, I'm talking about earth in general, not soil. It takes those substances and makes them useful within its system, and it can do it with a certain level. And plankton is very good at utilizing mercury and making it useful to living creatures. So the other creatures that feed on plankton and the other creatures that feed on the animals that feed on the plankton get high levels of organic mercury. Makes them very buoyant. They can do much more in the ocean than they could without the mercury. Once you take that mercury and once you take that meat from the creatures who have that mercury and you cook it, you completely fractionate all the life. It's like I come in here and I blast you with either, some kind of acid, caustic acid that's not a vegetable, or I take a big flame blower and I melt you guys, okay? Basically, all of the ability to maintain a life form is gone. You've eliminated everything that causes that interaction to make this whole system full and mobile and active. So then those little trace amounts of mercury then are poison. And if you come into contact with them or eat them, then they are poison in the system.
Why then when
They are free radicals, like I talked about the proton being separated from the neutron.
Electron.
And it'll bombard and split and slice. That's what mercury does when it's not organically bioactive.
But I have a follow-up to the chelation therapy.
Uh-huh.
I know somebody who had that when they had a group of products. Is that really
Oh, yes. That metal poisoning has gone into probably the nerves in the joint and all the connective tissue, so they're constantly irritated. Those people, the problem I find with it on this diet, even on this diet, is that that's probably one of the hardest to reverse, because I need to put them in a stage that almost gets them into lupus, and they either go into lupus or they don't. And I've had 3 clients go into lupus, and then it's hell. You know, you need to get lots of fat on the connective tissues, lots of cream to get in, and butter, and get in there and absorb the fat. You know, whether they make it through with that kind of poisoning is very difficult to, you know, to judge.
So the raw fat absorbing cooked fat? Is it absorbing fat?
No, the fats absorb the toxic metals from the chelation therapy. Yes, Roger.
The doctors claim that the nerve situation will go through the kidneys. In other words, it's pulled out the metals, or of course what they really try to sell it is people who are going to have a bypass to clean up the arteries and the veins.
Yep.
And they claim that it goes out through the kidneys.
Well,
but you're saying it doesn't.
People who are not on this diet, 90% of the people I know who got chelation therapy, the first person I met who got chelation therapy was in 1971. That was when they first started chelation therapy. 90% of them had died without being on this diet. 90% of the people who have died from it. No, I've had 4 people who had 30 to 50 chelation treatments who died. Yeah, who died even on the diet. Well, they didn't stick strictly because one person in Sacramento, somebody frightened him, some vegetarian frightened him into saying that no, he's going to store the fats again in his arteries, going to have problems, so he stopped doing the diet for about 3 months, and he died in that time. And I talked with his wife, and he said, she said that when he was on your diet, he did so well, and then when he got afraid, somebody scared him about a year and a half after he'd been on the diet doing very well, scared him and stopped eating all the fats.
Well, regarding the mercury, they say that it's the factories dumping the mercury in the water. Well, how does that different or the same? I mean, if the fish are swimming and ingesting the mercury from the factory.
Okay, let me cut that. I know where you're at.
Right.
Okay. The pollution of the ocean is at the most 2%. 2% contamination is not going to be dangerous. It's going to be so dispersed, it's not a problem. Our freshwater lakes are 35% minimum contaminated. 35% contaminated. The ocean is only 2%. You've got a much greater risk of having a mercury problem in freshwater fish. Ocean fish are pretty clean, especially swordfish and tuna that are way out in the ocean. Spend most of the time way out there. Very little time in your shore. Where that 2% of the oceans are polluted near the shore.
So the plankton, are they using man-made?
No, it's usually organic mercury.
But they help clean up oceans, right?
Other shellfish do. But most of the shellfish build the mercury into their shells. Did some lab tests on oysters, clams in a contaminated area from France, and some urchins. And there was hardly any we couldn't find but a trace in the urchin of inorganic mercury. And we found lots of it in the shell. So don't eat the shells. Shrimp same way, don't eat the shell.
Oh, okay.
Well, there are many solvents, many processes that can do it. If you take coconut cream, which is the best solvent that I've seen for metals, what causes them to be cohesive? You'll go in there and just all of a sudden melt it. And then the molecules are separated and sparse. So then your fat molecules, your fat cells, your white blood cells can go in and bind with them and send them out of the body. You know what a zit is? A zit is a bunch of white cells, fatty cells, that are chelated with toxins and are passing them out through the pore. You may have 5 billion white cells pussing out of a spot with only 5 or 6 molecules of something very dangerous. People who take cocaine and snort cocaine, if they go on a good diet, you can better believe that they have any lymph problem at all, are going to be putting out pustulations all over themselves, everywhere. Because it takes 30 to 40 molecules of fat to bind with 1 molecule of cocaine to get it out of the body. If you, it'll stay in there and damage that part of the body. Forever.
You have a bad lymph system, so it's forcing your body then to try and detox it through other ways, other than probably the skin, because it's not able to, because you don't have good lymph.
Yeah, you may try to throw it out to the kidneys, to the bloodstream, and that's dangerous. Very dangerous. Well, you can do that, but it'll go and dissolve, toxic fat products, old cholesterols that are in. Now there's your right solvent to break down arterial congestion is coconut cream. No, you can have it with anything. When you take coconut meat and you separate the pulp from the fat, it's coconut cream. Put it through a juicer.
Can you do that with the champion juicer to grind that coconut fine? Now, I found my coconut cream gets drastically fat. Maybe I can.
Well, what I do is I put it in 4-ounce jelly jars, so they're pretty full. So I'm only opening one at a time, and they'll last quite a while. If your champion juicer is getting too hot, it's going to ferment. So what I do is I'll take the blades with the teeth, the teeth on that part that goes onto the shaft of the champion. I put olive oil in there, about half a teaspoon of olive oil, and I'll rotate it, and then I'll shove it on the shaft. It causes a suction. When the food gets behind that gear that goes on there, the teeth that goes on there, it causes the whole gear to move, the whole blades to move forward, and it cuts off the space for the pulp to come out, so it stays in there and heats up. If you have the suction in there, it keeps it back, so it's harder to move that blade forward. And also, if you take the front end while you're juicing and push down on the front and bend it, it'll shove that whole tooth or gear back onto the back of the shaft and allow the pulp to come out without overheating. And then you can pass the coconut pulp through 2-3 times. No, then with green light you don't have to worry about that at all. That doesn't work. It doesn't work with coconut very well at all. Yeah, you don't get as much out of that. It's the air. The air is pushing through the fat, and that oxidizes it. Oxidizes it, so it won't last but 48 hours, 72 hours. Yeah.
So do you have to put it through the center and 2 or 3 times? Or 1, 2, or 3?
Well, you get, another 2 ounces out of it if you put it through again. No. Even though it says raw, I demanded that they give me a letter from the producer, and the producer told me that the coconut butter, even though they call it raw or unheated, they heat it, preheat it before they juice it, because it spoils so quickly from 170 to 210 degrees. So he said, I cannot guarantee this under 210 degrees. And then one of the latest that's on the raw food, is called Nature's First Law. Their website, they advertise a completely raw coconut butter or coconut oil. And I got a letter from Dave Wolf saying that it was completely raw. It was not heated above 105 or 6 degrees. Finally, I found the producer in Indonesia, and he says it goes up to at least 120, 118 to 120. So, don't use it. Now he goes on. Now he says it's heated to 118 degrees.
That's way too high.
Yeah, it's too high. Yeah, Fahrenheit. It's too high. Yeah, 96 degrees for fats is the highest it could go without causing some problems. Formation of toxic fat. They say olive oil is too. I can show you a terrible reaction having olive oil. They say you can cook with olive oil because it's stable. I can show you many cases where it creates damage. Swelling in the throat, thyroid exhaustion.
James is selling coconut cream in bottles now. Is that okay?
That's good. That's good stuff. That's made by, I can't say. It's pressed by a company for us. No, he's not selling it from them. It's pressed by somebody else. But the Beverly Hills Juice Club in West Hollywood, you can call them on Tuesdays or Fridays between 8 and 9 o'clock, and they'll press as much as you want, coconut. So you have to go through all that, cracking it, cutting it, putting it in the juicer. And James Stewart is now carrying it. So you can pick it up on Wednesdays or Saturdays.
You know about the coconut juice or something that Trader Joe's carries?
That's all heated. Very high. I don't get into that here. Okay, question.
Yes. Since I started on the diet, I have a hard time getting air in. And you have told me I have no contamination in the upper part of my lungs. And that's exactly what I feel when I have constriction. And I committed myself to running the race on that Saturday. Is there something I can eat the day before and the day of the race to help such a respiratory adjust my diet?
Well, you're so thin, it's a problem, because the contamination from the lower part of the lungs is going to try to pass through the bronchioles with that mucus and eliminate. And if you don't have the weight, that's where it's going to go. You have the weight all around the tissues, then the body can absorb those poisons, take it through the lymph system and detox it in 10 different ways. But when you don't have that fat, it has to go to the bronchioles and be built into the mucus and be removed that way. And that causes the tension all there, because all of it has to go there. And you have a lot of contamination on the lower part of the lobe. So, eating things like, anything that's going to put lots of fat on your tissues, milkshakes with, let's say, 4 ounces of milk and 4 ounces of cream, the day before, 5 days before. Add cream to your milkshakes, and that'll help. And then add extra parsley to your juice. That way you'll be able to utilize your oxygen without less oxygen without having to do so much expanding and contracting in the lungs. Do you have questions?
At any time, do you recommend people go cold turkey on food and I'm not doing
I always recommend people buy them. You know, I've always seen that it works better unless people are taking medication that is addictive, or let's say high blood pressure medicine that can cause quite a tremendous reaction and cause them to get panicky. So I'll say do it, get off, whatever it is, if it's supplements and stuff like that, because you're not going to have a big reaction. But if you have some kind of medication that when you stop you have a radical reaction, you become very insecure about it, don't do it, wean off of it. The hormones usually don't create a radical effect right away. They usually take 6 weeks to cause, let's say you're taking thyroxine, T3 or T4 for the thyroid. And usually the thyroid completely stops working during the period while you're taking it. And sometimes after 6 weeks, all of a sudden the thyroid starting to kick in. But when it first starts kicking in, it starts off all this toxic thyroxine that is stored in the thyroid, which causes lethargy. So people may go through that for 2 to 3 weeks to get rid of it. And they'll feel like they need the hormone again. And if they can just make it through, if they can coordinate it at a time when they don't have to work, take 3 weeks off on a vacation and just vegetate, get some sunshine and enjoy the diet. It's great. Otherwise, you may have to take a little bit for, a very small amount for a 5-day period and then stop it again. Whenever you run into that very severe state where you can't function, 5 days, a little bit for 5 days, and then off again, until you can break that cycle. Yes? Lots of chicken and fish together is helpful. Thyroid of an animal is good. Well, I haven't been able to get a lot of organic thyroid. I was getting it from a producer of, at least there was no hormones and there were no antibiotics, but it wasn't organic. And I could get, funny, thyroid of the calf is like 2.5 pounds to 3 pounds. And that's the best thing to do. If you get it from a buffalo, it's about the size of your thumb. This is a massive huge animal. This little calf, there's one thyroid to the other. So if you want a lot, then get it from a calf. No, it doesn't go bad quickly. It lasts a very long time. I put it in glass. Oh, no. It's very soft. It's like a clam. Yeah. It's very white. Well, I did for a while. I was able to get it to them. I talked to the meat manager, and I did get it for a while. Well, see, I only have to do it maybe once every 3 years. Other people may need to do it more often. So my 3 years will be coming up next year, and then I'll be interested again. But if you go to the meat manager at Whole Foods at Barrington and National, I think his name was Robert, and I think he's still there, and he's savvy about it. He's telling you want to, calf's thyroid, one that's not full of antibiotics and hormones, and get it. And what I do is I'll take a kitchen shears and cut it up and then blend it with an equal amount of milk, raw milk, with a little bit of red onion, and it tastes like clam chowder. Good. Those glands, yes, with the ovaries, whatever it is. Well, not there. We can get them from the buffalo source. If the buffalo, weren't that small of a thyroid, we'd be getting more from them, but there's not much thyroid to a buffalo. But you can get ovaries and all of that, uterus, ask her, she gets tons of it. So, and Kathy's a source. If you want to get glands, see Kathy. If you order them.
Go out and get monthly treatment as well.
All that stuff takes bad with for conditions.
Oh, we're conditioned not to like stuff like that, definitely. And if it causes a detoxification of a gland, of course, your body's not going to be thrilled about it.
Oh, the monkfish, you say it's good for the neurological system, the vision, and it has fish oil content, like you had fish liver oil from the cod liver. This is the monkfish.
It helps get rid of, free radical metals and other toxins that are in the body.
Yeah, oils in the fish.
Yeah.
So,
It helps soothe neurological tissue. Yes? Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, you're risking cancer. And let me tell you, the people who take those hormones, when they metastasize and die quicker than anybody else, usually most painful.
Which hormones do they?
The people who take hormone supplements.
What is metastasizing?
Pardon? It means spreading everywhere. Spreading, from organ to organ or gland to gland. Yes? Well, usually, like I said in the book, did you read my book?
Yeah.
Okay. In my book, I said when women go through the change, the hormonal change, and they're on the diet, the change is proper. You're just going to create a different kind of hormone. But most women are so deficient by that age that they don't have enough fats and proteins to make the changeover, so they stop making hormones altogether. And usually when they're on the diet, a lot of women start their periods again, even though they're 55, 56. Some do not. But I would say about half of them do. I got one woman who's 57 now. She's still having her period. And she had stopped having it for 6 years before she started the diet.
Does that mean you could get pregnant again?
Yes, it does.
Your period stops, you don't have it for like 6, 8 months, and all of a sudden it stops.
It just means that you're just not, your ovaries are not producing eggs. That's all it means. And you may be going through a menopause. If you're not having hot flashes and all that, which most women who have been on this diet for many years, when they go into menopause, they have no problem. They don't have the heat flashes. They don't have all that discomfort. They don't have any problem. Women who go on the diet, when they're already into it, it usually doesn't stop right away. It usually has its 2-year cycle. And some people even continue it. Are you still continuing your heat flashes? Pardon?
yeah,
And how long have you been?
I've been on the diet
4
4 years.
years, and she's still in her heat flash. So it depends upon the individual.
There's also on the market the Shabro. I'm doing that too as well. For the aging, the placenta, and the ovaries as well.
She's trying to do a lot to do it, but Kathy was like me. She was very, very ill when she was started the diet. She was catatonic. She couldn't even speak. And now you can't stop her from talking. Okay, let's see. Do you have a question? With the beard. I forgot your name. Yep. Steve.
Well, I have one question. One was about can you give us what you, I know you see a pretty big band. Can you kind of give us your philosophy on how you express your band to use that
Well, you're talking about a subject that takes many, many years to
Could you repeat the question for the tape?
Pardon?
Repeat the question.
The question is, how do you get a doctor to do what is compatible with a dentist to do what is compatible with the diet? There's nothing compatible about anything a dentist does. Anytime they put anything in your mouth, they have to put an epoxy in there. It poisons. You have, just like you have veins going throughout the body, you have tubules in the teeth, which take circulation and nutrients from the nerve into the tooth and pass it into the out. When your teeth are decaying, they're not decaying from the outside. They're decaying from the poison out from in the mouth, in the nerves, passing out. Weakens the dentine. Yes, bacteria can eat away at the outside if the dentine is fouled by the poisons that are on the inside going out. The people who have strong teeth and strong bloodstreams do not get cavities, like the Eskimo. 90% of their diet was raw meat, and only 10% that wasn't that 10% was out of the 3 months of the year where they could get berries and other things. And they had no cavities until 1886, and that was first cavity was a fellow who was eating the breads and sugar that the Germans had brought over for 50 years. It was the first cavity. Anytime you put anything in the mouth and fill it, it has to be epoxied in. Therefore, you're going to contaminate the tooth more. What I have done is when my cavities pop, I leave them alone. I don't put anything back. But that means, some of them were almost all cavity. All filling. So those teeth, I've had 2 of them, 3 of them break, because there was hardly any tooth there. So I have a tooth that I had them make in Mexico, because they will not do this here. They are not allowed to give you a tooth that you can remove. They have to cement it in. And I don't want it cemented in, because I don't want that epoxy in my mouth. Because I'm experimenting to see whether teeth can regenerate on this diet, and I won't know for another 20 years. But I'm taking a chance. I'm taking a chance on losing my teeth. I've got another one here that's made the same way because the tooth broke. Those teeth, the one back here, this molar, 2/3 of the tooth had been a filling. And when it popped out, I let it go. There was no more decay. I had a dentist look at it every year. No decay for about 8 years. And I left the filling out of it. And it didn't break until I was ripping on some gristle once, and it broke. But that's what it took. No cavity. I don't have any more cavities. All these open cavities, teeth that are wide open, nerves that are wide open, no pain, no decay. I've got wide open filling. Oh, yes. Because you have poisons that come out through the gums constantly, especially your milk drink. Because the milk can carry toxic substances and metals from the brain, and the brain holds the most toxic metals of the entire body. And it comes out the gums, and that can be a solvent reaction and dissolve dentine. So you definitely want to brush. Oh, no, I don't like that. Every time I go there, it causes my gums to recede more. And they're telling me, your gums are receding. Well, every animal's gums recede throughout their whole life, and there's not a problem with it. They just make a lot of money on the cleanings and rip the shit out of the gums. No, you have to realize again, the contamination is coming through the tubules out to the tooth. Take, for instance, people who snort cocaine. You see their teeth turn gray? That's because all that cocaine has gone into the nerves, and it's leaking into the nerves out the teeth, and it turns the teeth gray.
Sounds like you clean it out, they might get whiter again, and they just stop.
Oh no, I've seen it reverse after maybe 12 years on the diet. People who had cocaine.
Well, Tom has a photograph in his book, Nutrition and Physical Degeneration. I'm reading it right now, where the natives went back to the diet, and the filling the cavities filled in.
Yeah, but I was hoping for that, but I probably had so much chemo and radiation, and so much mercury in my days from all the vaccines that I had, especially tetanus. I haven't been able to regenerate. And I got one kid, he's 25 years old. No, he's 22 years old. He had a huge cavity pop out. In a year, it was completely filled in. I'm not like that. I'm too toxic. You know, that would be wonderful.
Saliva, talking to my dear saliva,
Yes,
if you're having emotional reactions,
probably.
do you want to see it?
Yeah, I remember one girl who had cancer and was vomiting a lot, and her saliva was fouler than the oldest meat, high meat that I've ever smelled. It was worse than the Eskimo stuff that they unburied. And she had to spit it out. If she swallowed it, she would have been vomiting more. She did, when she did swallow it, she did vomit more. I usually brush it with cream or butter or milk.
Not mixed with the clay?
You can, if you would like to polish your teeth and help get rid of some heavier plaques. If you have it deep down in your gums, mix a little powdered clay, you know, like the Aztec secret clay with the butter or cream, and that'll act as a jeweler's rouge and polish them.
The Aztec secret as well?
Yeah, sun-dried.
When I first started the diet, my teeth were really sensitive. Like I couldn't even brush my teeth without really having so much pain that it took like a half hour for it to go away. Why was that? And now they're not sensitive at all. At all. Like I can.
Did you hear her question? When she went on the diet, her teeth were so sensitive that she was sensitive to, you know, cold drinks, anything. Severe pain and sensitivity in the teeth. She's a cosmetologist. She's been around hairspray, heavy metals, also the aerosol contamination. It went into your brain. A lot of it goes into the brain because you're inhaling it. It goes into the brain and it comes out the teeth. Damages the nerves. Contaminated. Yeah.
What would be a good mood to use then, so you're not going to lose aerosol?
Go up to Alaska and wrestle one down.
There's one made by a mop that's in a total plastic container, whatever.
Still heavy metal. What I just said in the book was take some water, good water, with minerals in it, heavy minerals, and put a little bit, 5% honey in it. And you spray that on there, and the heavy metals in the mineral water react with the honey and make it just like it's hairspray. Well, if you refrigerate it, it will last longer. But if it's,
How much honey?
it will cause a fermentation when that much water is mixed with honey.
Speaking of books, when's your book coming out?
What book? I'm not doing any more books. I talked with the editor last night. This is the third time she's claimed that she's lost the book on her computer, so, I have to resend it to her. So she promised me in a week to have it back, so that'll be the last time through it. So it should be going to the people who do the indexing, and they promised it will only take 10 days, so 5 weeks. It'll go to the printer, and that's what I'll be issuing. As soon as I send it off to the indexers, I will issue to everyone a form that you can fill out to get one, to reserve your copy right away, because the publisher is only going to print 4,000 copies. I got them from 3,200 to 4,000 copies, and we've got about 5,000 people who say they want it. So some people aren't going to get it. So the quicker you get in your payment and form in, you'll be able to get it right away. Otherwise, you may not get it until November or December, which will be the next printing, provided that all the copies are full. I will issue it to everyone from, provided that all the copies are sold. I will issue it to everyone from the website. He says, people say they want something, but when they put their money where their mouth is, it usually is a small percentage of those that say they want it. So, that's the situation. But I think that, people are asking me every frickin' day about it. So, a lot of people want it.
I want to say about the blue-green algae first that I called and they told me that...
That's not a time to go into it.
Okay.
Not a time. When you have the blue-green algae, we can even talk about it.
Okay.
Till the blue-green algae gets here, we don't even want to talk about it. Because the last time we got all this preparation, she and I did tremendous amounts of work. We got the blue-green algae here frozen.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't even want to talk about the blue-green algae until it gets here.
All right. And there's another thing on the horizon is getting the Mexican wild game root. I've been talking to this man.
It's still not something we want to talk about. Talk that before or after. Okay?
I have a question. You're talking about your work that if I'm required to like do firearm qualifications or when they shoot with like cows and stuff, would I get red?
Oh, yeah.
Cadmium.
Cadmium, yep. Cadmium, aluminum, mercury, you're getting everything from that. You can always wear a mask. I mean, always wear a mask. They won't prevent you from wearing a mask. You know. And if you feel self-conscious on all these macho, guys that are out there shooting, she's an officer, sheriff's department, right? You can always take some wet cotton balls, wet with your saliva, not wet with water, because you want it to be mucousy. And then stuff those up your nose and breathe slowly through your nose. Just get used to the slow rhythm of breathing slowly because you can't breathe fast. Breathe slowly, deeply, hold it, and then exhale. And that'll allow you to breathe normally and get enough oxygen while you're doing the shooting and filter out a lot of the contamination. I know people who do, and even if you just cover your face with a silk cloth, you prevent a lot of it from going into your lungs.
Cotton balls, I've been using cotton balls and diapers on mercury. Now, how are you using mercury?
As an antiseptic. So you have to get a non-sterilized cotton ball. Like furniture cotton. Organic cotton. It's organic cotton. It's not going to be contaminated. And I think there are some facial cottons that you can get from health food stores or cotton balls that are organic. If they're organic, that means they're not sterilized with mercury. Remember, the pharmaceutical industry loves to use mercury as an antibiotic and an antiseptic. Yes, Roger.
Earlier you said that nuts were not good. You want to amplify on that?
I didn't say that they weren't good. I said that all nuts contain enzyme inhibitors which prevent you from digesting, utilizing, and assimilating protein from 36 to 48 hours after eating it, unless you eat it in a combination with other foods which inhibits the enzyme inhibitors, such as my nut formula, which is nuts, egg, honey, and butter or coconut cream. That combination.
Well, these are raw nuts.
Correct. It has to be raw nuts, definitely.
But not almonds.
Almonds are too difficult to digest. The softer ones like walnuts, pecans, pine nuts, sunflower seeds.
What about soaking almonds?
Pardon?
What about soaking almonds overnight when they soft?
No, because then you turn it into a vegetable. And then you have other enzyme inhibitors that don't mix with what I just described. Yeah.
I was curious about what you said before when you use sun-dried clay to polish your teeth. Do you use the powdered or do you use it when you put water in it?
Well, powdered. Yeah.
Right from the
What you
jar?
do is you put it in the butter or the cream, and about 2 parts butter, 2 parts cream, to 1 part the clay. And I mean, we're talking about let's say 6 drops of butter or clay, or unless you're making a batch, you keep it in the refrigerator, then you make a larger batch. But it should be about 1/3 clay to 2/3 cream or butter. And that makes a great jeweler's rouge or a dental rouge.
That will make it lighter.
I doubt it. The whiteness comes again from the toxicity that's coming from the brain or the mandible going into the nerves. So So I mean, over the years, if you clean out those nerves, and if you have nerves and tubules that go in to the tooth without fillings, then of course their circulation can change over the compounds in the tooth to make it white. Otherwise, no, it won't. Won't change it a bit. Nope. They all contain mercury.
Even the ones that help with
Yep, they say do not tell your children not to swallow toothpaste. Warning notice on it. Do not swallow.
It doesn't say mercury on there.
Because it's trace amount, they don't have to unless it's a certain amount.
What about hydrogen peroxide?
For the teeth, well, you'll burn your gums. It damages cells, and it burns. But you put it on your skin, it'll cause a white spot because it burned the cells.
What about drinking hydrogen?
Not a good idea. You know, I said in my book, certain people could use maybe 5 drops of hydrogen peroxide in a certain solution, but that was just certain people, and I haven't seen any of those rarely. I just said, I spent a whole time talking about it. So if you missed it, you need to talk to somebody else. Clay and butter and cream. Yeah.
What about mouthwash?
Lemon or lime is great for mouthwash. Well, lemon or lime works better. Yeah, just squeeze it in and mix it around and chase it with, some, you spit it out with some bubbly water. That really works.
That's true. Detox and metals, like things like copper smell,
Yeah, that helps that. And then rinse it with, some, like Gerolsteiner, Perrier, Ronlusa, one of those. That really won't cleanse the toxicity out of the mouth, but it'll help with the smell of the mouth.
What about chewing on sensitive?
Yeah, the parsley helps break, like I said in my book, parsley is a thing parsley juice is something that helps break down bacteria in the mouth. Mint you can use, ginger, all those things will help bad breath. Did you have a question? Standing up back there. You? No, okay. Do you have a question?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a tumor. I have a hard time digesting my meal. That's why I started studying the symptoms. What type of food could I eat that would start helping me change?
Well, as I was talking about, fecal matter is the only thing that I've seen stop that kind of metastasis. When you metastasize that much, that means it's pretty fast growing, pretty fast. I can't imagine that they're, benign if you have that many in various areas. I have seen it occasionally, but not very often. Benign tumors, very hard to dissolve. Coconut cream is your best. Using coconut cream with a little bit of pineapple is helpful to dissolve tumors. But with that many, it all depends. See, when the cells go malignant, that's a good thing, because only malignant tumors can dissolve overnight. Because when the malignant cell has like a battery acid in it, and mostly in tumors you have one live cancer cell surrounded by 50 dead cells. The cancer cell is like a hermit, like a monk. It's very psychic. It can keep the body in communication with that area. So it can keep that part of the body alive even though it's in this state of disease. A benign tumor can't do that. There's no connection with that area of the body. So when the cancer cell dies, it sets out the serum and dissolves all the cells around it. That's why you can have remission overnight and dissolve within 2 to 7 days a huge tumor. Like they did at the University of Toronto using the E. coli virotoxin to dissolve brain tumors in 2 to 5 days, 2 to 7 days, including the vessels going to them, the tumors. So fecal matter is your best way to make sure that it stops when you arrest it. If you go in for a biopsy, you're opening yourself to a tremendous amount of metastasis.
This is why I have the problem with this. This is why I feel getting worse. So I have stayed away from what I call Western medicine.
Right.
I've been dealing with the acupuncturist and herbalist. And now I've gotten worse, so I have an appointment to the county because I have no insurance, so I have nowhere else to go. And I have it in another day. And then the way I have made it sound, I went to the food clinic and they found something right away. So I knew, at first I thought maybe I was just cuckoo. And the Chinese doctor didn't know what the heck he was talking about. They felt it right away. So I knew I went nuts. So then, out of a referral, I'm going to be going just for a look and feel here, and they decide what type of test. And they had said that obviously, they thought, I think the first test they would do would be a colonoscopy, and they wanted to take a biopsy. So I'm trying to stay clear of these kind of people. And I don't do this in that kind of way. My husband died of very painful death when he had cancer, and I saw everything.
What they did, yeah.
What they did, the radiation, the chemotherapy, surgery, the whole thing, and I saw the end result and withered away to nothing. So, I mean, I knew not to jump into that.
Right.
But I'm at the point where I think, well, won't I try? If I don't go to a Western doctor and do something, I would never take radiation chemotherapy. I'd rather just stay alive. That I won't do. But I'm worried about, like you said, I know, mind you, I saw this many years ago. I'll never forget this one of the two people. Number one, this one person had colon cancer, had surgery, no will help from a coma because it spread all over the place from the cancer. The other person had a tumor back here, had surgery, spread all over. They never became, let's say, out of their So I know that these things happen. And I don't know why some people can do okay with surgery and they remove the tumor and they're fine. And like somebody else dies right away. I don't know that kind of thing.
Well, you're talking, you said that you may have tumors in many areas of your body, it's just not one.
Yeah.
If you've got them in many areas of your body, you can count on them. You're going to be one of those people who suffer. It doesn't matter whether you have it or not, you know. Enjoy your life while you're here. I tell every cancer client that comes to me, count on dying. And do what it takes not to die. Like when I went through, my stuff, I wanted to die. I was in so much pain. I was so crippled by those fucking doctors and their drugs that I was crawling around on my elbows like a worm. And it was a miserable life, and I was always in pain, severe back pain, intestinal pain, leg pain. That's what they did to me, and I just chose that, I would never go to them again. I would rather die. And the people who die on this diet die usually pretty pleasantly.
Well, let me ask you something.
If they don't make it.
You would say that under no circumstances should somebody have surgery on losing weight?
No, I wouldn't say that entirely because some people feel that they have to do it. It is my approach that I would never do it. Never, If it's my time to go, I'll go. But most people who are on this diet and have cancer reverse it if they haven't had chemo and radiation. I'm telling you, now that I've been working since the book's been published with people who had chelation, radiation, and surgery, the reversal rate is way down to about 60%, and I'm not even at 5 years yet. So it could go down to 50, 40%. Still better than the medical profession because theirs is around 11, 17% survival after 5 years. Yes?
One time you shared that if people did nothing at all, that 60% or 65%.
76%, according to, would reverse on their own. But that was back to the 40s, 50s, and 60s. We have about 4,200 more chemicals that they're exposed to, a lot more contamination. So, the rate, I would say, probably 60% would naturally reverse if people did nothing. Because cancer is like a flu. You know, it's a collection of dead cells. Once your liver gets working again, makes the proper solvents to dissolve the dead cells, your body doesn't collect them anymore. There's no tumors. They reverse. They go away.
A lot of people have it, not know it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, most people go through cancer 3 or 4 or 5 times in their life and never know it. And since they don't know it, never have a problem with it, they're never diagnosed, and there's no harm. When you go to the doctor, let me tell you, they're trained to terrorize you. And they do. They terrorize you.
Have you thought about marketing the people from school and informing?
No way. Do you know how fast the FDA would come down on me?
But she would have the fecal matter, wouldn't it be helpful?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend that she does get the fecal matter. Definitely.
Well, and when you mentioned one time to me about oysters, you said there's good fecal matter in the oysters.
Well, it's so small. For her, that's not enough.
That's
Yeah.
not enough.
Not for her. Not in a situation like that.
You'd have to have a half a pound.
Well, no, I recommend that she had an ounce every day for 5 days, off 6 days, on 5 days, and then maybe 3 months later doing it again. Just seeing how it does. She may need to eat it more, depending if she keeps metastasizing.
Would anyone do it even if they don't have cancer?
Certainly, because most everybody has cancer. It's not detected yet.
Everybody has a cancer still.
Pardon? No, because then you'll damage the bacteria. You'll kill the bacteria. Pardon? No. Let me tell you, if you like overcooked broccoli mixed with Brussels sprouts, you would love it. That would make me vomit.
Could you hypnotize someone to believe that they're eating something really delicious?
That, you know, you do that against the law. You can get practice. Right? Study. You can get in trouble practicing psychology without a license. Talk to this man about that. Yes.
Could you talk about the differences between pie red meat, pie fish, and pie chicken? Which do what?
Well, just like in building, the hide bacteria in the different meats will help break down the toxicity in those tissues. Chicken and all fowl relates to all tissue in the body that is not red and deep red in the body. Glands like liver, gallbladder, spleen, pancreas are all deep red. They're affected by red meat. Beef, lamb, buffalo, venison, all of those. White meats like rabbit, fowl, apply to lymphatic system, skin, bone, cartilage, neurological tissue, including the myelin, skin, hair. All of that is more affected by those white meats. The tissue of the brain, the actual inner workings of the brain, the fluids of the brain are affected more by fish, seafood. So if you have high fish, you'll help detoxify the brain and inner workings of the brain and neurological system better. If you have, other white meats like the fowl and the rabbit, it will detoxify the skin, the lymph, everything else that I mentioned. And the beef, of course, the darker organs, the blood and the muscles. Okay? Young lady, do you have a question?
Oh, well, I'm relatively new.
Have you read the book?
I read your book about 3 weeks ago.
Okay,
Yes,
then
yes.
you get to ask a question.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, well, my problem I've been on one sort of a health team, and you got a lot more real to me after I read your book because I know you've been through all those. And I reached a point about 10 years ago or something, I just couldn't get any, whatever I tried, I couldn't get any better. And then I had a back injury, and I've had too much weight since then. And I'm unhappy to hear that, the weight is okay. The weight is not necessarily something that you see as a problem, but
your
it
weight
is to me.
your weight's a problem if you got a back injury.
Yeah. Well, that's gotten steadily better, actually.
Good.
I'm happy with,
You lose the weight and gain a different weight, but you should never get that big again.
Yeah, it's
on this diet.
Okay.
Yeah. Usually the heaviest people get at your age is maybe 35 pounds overweight.
Oh, okay.
And you're about 50.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed. I'm actually quite small boned. So it's
No, you're not.
It's even heavier than I
You see your wrist. You're not small boned.
Oh, really?
No, you're not.
Oh, I feel a little better. What is there? What am I doing? What am I doing? That what should I be doing with your diet to get specifically? But it's like old weight. It hasn't,
Well, you need to put on some good fat first.
Okay.
It's a whole diet plan if you're asking for something like that.
No,
you
but
need to make an appointment with him.
No, and I don't mean to, get around. I need to do that, and that's for sure. But I want. I can be on this diet. In other words, whatever it is that's been keeping the weight will come off of the diet.
Will come off, yeah.
Oh, okay, great, right. So I don't have to be,
Right.
I don't want to stay heavy.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Usually, when you're that overweight, you will lose weight on the diet.
Okay.
Come to a point, gain some
Yeah.
back, and just hold it for a little bit, and then start taking it off.
Oh.
And then usually after about 4 years, you never have to get that big again. I allow women to go, don't allow. I like women to gain at least 12 pounds over their normal weight. Men, I ask them to do 15 to 30. I'd ask women to do that, but they're too vague. And they're a lot healthier. Once you gain that excess weight, just like Frank, you finally reach that high point and he says, God, I know what you're talking about. You're so good. It's a big difference when it's the raw fat. How long's Frank been on it now?
Oh, a long time.
2 years?
Oh, how long have you been on a diet?
Yeah,
Oh, about a year and 8 months.
year and 8 months. Now I remember when Frank called, Arlene was in the background, and he said, I think about going on your diet, and my wife thinks you're out of your mind. And Arlene's in the back. Don't do that diet. Don't do that diet. What are you doing? It's crazy. You're going to get really sick. And I hear Arlene in the back doing this whole thing, and Frank's trying to have a conversation from me. And she just wild in the background.
That's when I weighed 105.
Yes. Yeah, so she's calmer and happier, and she's on the diet too.
The weight gain you're talking about, is it distributed in some?
Yes, his is very nicely distributed. Yeah. And usually in women, it may, if you have a lot of women, because of the high hormonal content around this area, they store lots of their toxic, they have more fat to bind with more toxins. And if it's a bad cholesterol, it'll store in certain areas, and it's usually around in here where they're generating a lot of hormones to bind with the poison. Because especially if they're on a fat-free diet or limit their fats, they're going to use hormones to chelate with poison instead of normal fats, blood fats. So it'll store in these areas called cellulite, and it'll dry up, and it'll get harder and just keep growing because the body will just build onto it. And then when you have to go and dissolve it, it dissolves a little layer at a time. So it causes swelling temporarily, so you have this puffing out for 2.5 to 3 years, like I say in the book. And then it goes away. Unless you have cesarean, then it could last for 8 to 10 years.
When the fats that have the toxins in them start flushing out as you lose weight, it's dangerous.
If you don't have enough blood fats in you. That's why I like people to gain weight during that period, so that they'll chelate with them, so they won't have a problem with them, and they'll get rid of them. Otherwise, we're just going to stir them up in the blood, get them panicky, upset, depressed, angry, and then goes right back into the tissue again, into the organs usually. Pulls it out of here, put them into wherever there's fat. And if the fat's in the glands, that's where it'll go.
So I'm one of those people that
was really on low-fat diet, vegetarian and everything. And so I'm sure there's a lot of hormones that was absorbing my toxins. And does it also make you not only emotional but feel like you're
It can, because if your body wants to use those hormones to help you burn that, yeah, get rid of it, definitely will.
So I seem to be hypersensitive to sugar. And honey,
You already had a question, right? I have to finish the room. Okay. You have a question? I'll get you the next. Penny's first. The lady in the family's first.
Yes. I pinned my finger a long time ago, and it broke a little bit at the knuckle. And it's been very, very close to him. And it's, just a little better, but this is like, obviously, and it's still a little swollen, and it doesn't bend all the way, and it doesn't, and it's still in the place.
The bruised tissue is not coming out quickly enough.
Right.
You have a lot of stored toxic fats in your body, so your minerals are probably being absorbed a lot around there. So if you want to increase the healing to that finger, get a hot water bottle, wrap it in like a gauze cloth, like a flannel pillowcase, and just put your hand on top of it while you sleep or while you're sitting down anywhere. And it'll force circulation in that area and force healing in that area. Anytime you want to force healing in a particular area, use hot water bottles, never a heating pad. Heating pad contains EMFs, electromagnetic fields, and it causes molecular change of cells, which are destructive. And they don't reproduce properly. So it causes more adhesion.
Likewise, you would not agree with heating blankets or
Correct.
nothing electrical on the body. Right?
Correct.
Or any of those face heaters.
Keep them 3 feet away from you. They also cause electromagnetic fields in the air. I don't think it's a good idea. It's better to use, if you're going to use something like that, use the, like the radiators, the oil filled. They're less contaminating. Or gas.
For your fingers, blood in your fingers, you put a hot water bottle on?
No, you don't put it on top of the hand because then it'll cut the circulation off. You put your hand on top of the hot water bottle. The heat will radiate up into the hand.
What about electric massage tables?
The what?
Like electric massage table has good electricity,
That's not good. If you put I put my EMF gas meter on there, very high. Electric one, an electric massage chair.
Well, the one that doesn't massage electrically, the one that has a wooden thing that massages. You plug it in and move the wooden thing.
Yep, it's got a motor that runs it. And the motor's right under here.
What about when you walk?
And they'll send out EMFs for up to, 3 feet.
What about elevators if you're going in?
That's very brief.
And how about escalators, the same thing?
Yeah, but it's brief.
Do these things help?
Take care, Roger.
I've done a social rescue before.
No, you have to say Robert. Is Robert not here? Oh, here's Robert.
Do these things help, odds, as far as the EMFs are concerned? Do you know?
Is that a magnetic?
No.
Nikon's got these magnetic patches and pocket things. That'll help pull some of it out and regulate your system a little bit. Their beds work to an extent, as long as you don't overdo it. Nikon, Nikon.
So the Q-Link is something you recommend?
What?
Q-Link?
This is a Q-Link.
What is that? I don't know what a Q-Link is.
Okay. No sense in going into it if you don't know what it is.
But I may. If the Q-Link, I'm not familiar with that name, but I know about the magnetic.
It's supposed to regulate the magnetic field so they're no longer damaging to the body.
Okay, I would have to investigate because I don't know about that. I've heard about them. But, pardon?
Nikon, you said, okay.
Yes.
Nikon?
Nikon,
When you
yes.
get those?
You look in the phone, but there are a lot of them. N-I-K-E-N, is it?
Nikken.
K-K-E-N,
Yeah.
okay.
the
Nikon,
gold
that's right,
underneath.
yeah. That's right. Nikon, get a camera. Nikon, right.
Do you know what was in clay beads that are supposed to do the same thing, the fellow that does the energy work?
Well, clay does contain some, what is that, ultraviolet rays, and they do contain magnetic fields, and I have seen them work. I've seen the blankets, Nikon has them also, which has the clay in them, which helps the magnetics and the ultraviolet light, which helps people heal. So those can be beneficial. Just remember, don't overdo anything. When I was doing tests on them between 1990 and 1993, I found that if people were sleeping on the bed every night more than 5 hours, after about 6 weeks, it caused more of a toxic effect on this diet. If they're on a toxic diet, of course, they're always having more toxins and more electromagnetic problems. So it's beneficial for them to be on it 8 hours a day, every day. And it's fine. But on this diet, you don't want to be on it more than 5 hours a day for about 6 weeks, and then off for about 6 weeks, and on and on. Probably be safer to do 6 weeks on, 6 weeks off, 3 weeks on, 6 weeks off, 3 weeks on, 6 weeks off, a pattern like that. And it's a thing you just put, under your blankets and stuff, with a pad over the magnetic cushion.
Just on that subject, do you think you said ultraviolet is good for you?
No, ultraviolet when it's from clay,
Oh,
not lights. Sunlight, yes, but not from a synthetic light source.
Oh, I got it.
Not from a candy bed.
No, those are very toxic.
Is that why you saw radiation in my eyes,
Probably is. Lots of it. Do you have questions?
Yes.
No, I didn't.
When and how did you first find out the benefits of family?
The first time was in 1975 when I met the Eskimos. I still had bone cancer, blood and bone cancer. It was coming back again. I was traveling around on a bicycle all over the United States, Mexico and Canada and Alaska, living with different tribes and animals, alligators, coyotes, chipmunks, and studied them in different tribal groups. Well, when I went to Alaska, this is in September '95, it was getting cold. Alaska gets cold pretty quickly, in September. And it was getting down to about 48 degrees at night. If, with my multiple myeloma was surging, if the temperature went below 48 degrees, I was crippled. I was in so much pain I couldn't move even my finger. I couldn't twitch my ears, or my eyebrows or anything without, severe pain. And so I would keep very warm at night, as warm as I could. As soon as the sun went down, I got bungled. But they tried to give me to eat raw meat like crazy up there, and I wouldn't do it because I was a diehard vegetarian, and I had such ill reactions to cooked meat. Never dawned on me, even though there's a difference between all raw foods and cooked foods, that it would be okay raw meat. So I refused to do it, and one day they dug up these pouches, these things that were wrapped in hides and buried under the ground between 2 and 6 inches that stunk horribly. I mean, and they had somebody downwind, and they could tell, how bad it stunk. And it didn't stink a half a mile downwind. They wasn't ready. Got wrapped and put back in the ground. So I was there. When I got there, they started doing this. What the hell is this? I thought maybe it was some herbs or something. Because when they unwrapped it, I could see there's green molds and white and black molds in there. So I didn't know the meat did that. It had no consciousness that meat had those kind of molds growing on it. So when it came time that it was ripe, the smell was so horrific that I couldn't get within 5 feet of it without wanting to vomit. And all the children were around, they smelled this, were so excited and jumping up and down like they're crazy. And the adults are all happy, and this shit is so bad, I'm saying to myself, oh my God. I thought it was, I thought they were herbs that had rotted. They put some kind of mulch in them, some kind of seaweed in them, to do this, because it smelled so badly. It did smell slightly animal, so I figured it was seaweed. You know how seaweed can stink horribly, because it's part animal, like a mushroom is part animal and part plant. So, they unwrapped it and gave me about a golf ball size, ping pong to golf ball size amount. And I had to put cotton balls up my nose with mustard oil in them. True bull's sperm, So I pushed it up my nose. And, that smelled good, but still I could barely detect it, but I was able to eat it. And within about, 2 or 3 hours, all of a sudden, all my joints felt warm. And this was in the late afternoon, where the sun was starting to go down. And I stayed there for a total of 28 days, and I was not crippled in pain. I was in pain, but I was not crippled for that whole time. Now later, years later, when I read the culture and what they wrap in those hides and buried, I found out it was meat. Mm-hmm. So I realized that I had eaten meat, but this wasn't until the early 80s. And that's when I started molding other foods, molding high meat, started to make them. I was molding everything after that. I was molding grains, I was molding everything. Making my own LSD.
And before that, you hadn't heard of it?
None of that.
I heard that recently there has been, I don't have it now, a book just published about the benefits